It's been 2 weeks, it's hard to remember things. Some stuff I'll mention. If I mention it in the recap, it might be interesting to focus on. I'm not going to recap absolutely everything, so if the DM mentions something in the recap, it might be something to keep an eye out for. Now, of course, the story gets very deep. There's more story I could tell. I deliberately tell you pieces of the story and just like a little tiny pinhole onto this larger, map or a piece of the jigsaw puzzle. You pursue other pieces of the jigsaw puzzle and you start putting them together. You don't have to write the stuff down. You don't have to memorize this. You might have a high-stress job, or you have enough to worry about. You don't want to memorize some fictional story. But if you're into it, some people get really into making notes because you start seeing the threads connect, and knowledge is power. You often can get sort of interesting advantages and stuff when that happens. Yeah. Okay. So, the story so far. All right. I threw that down there, and I really shouldn't have. I should put it here to remind you to use it. So, I like to kind of go from the what's your long-term goal to the most immediate goal and kind of work backwards. So, you decided that there's really no use going back to the farms that you're heading to, the original destination being those farms. There's no point going back to the farms if they're going to be ruined by goblin raids. And you think you have an idea of what is causing those goblin raids up to the north. Now, you might decide to go north and defend those. That's a choice that you had last week. You decided to put that off, but that's still an option. You can start chasing those goblins north and do it directly. But why not look at the source? Because one thing about goblins, they just keep coming up from underground. They started boiling up here about a century ago, invading this entire land, taking it over like it's theirs, eating everything. Hello, welcome back. And causing all kinds of trouble. So you might find the source. What is helping produce the goblins, or more importantly, what is organizing them to send them north? I'll give you all your stuff. Yeah, you can check that out there. And once I stop my recap, I'll catch up with some other things that you'll need. So, the goblin raids. Torg, the red ghost, the ghost of that sort of reddish soldier that you were talking to a little bit, Torg in the dungeon was saying that there's treasure and power to be had down. Join us, he said. He pointed to the trapdoor down. That is what you chose out of the various things, because treasure, power sounds pretty good. This looks like it might be a bit of a wicked or sort of spooky place to go, but you're adventurers and you're going to stretch yourselves. So that sounds great. It's always handy to have treasure and power. So that is what your immediate needs are, is to let's get through whatever challenge lies below, prove that we're strong, and get whatever is being hidden down there. You also are going to start building up your own personal agendas. So when I start, when the recap sort of pauses, and then I'll wait until 6 o'clock to start, the first thing we'll start with is your character itself. So at least it would be great for you to think of a name for your character. What is the pronoun that your character likes to be referred to? And just the basics of, what is their heritage, like, elf, dwarf, human, something that would be visually apparent right away. And I could probably tell what class you are. That would be fighter, rogue, mage, but we'll recap that. But when I ask you, I might also ask, okay, well, for a little bit of a stretch goal, if you thought of it, why did you come to Timberway Valley? Where did you get on the carriage? Like, where are you from and why did you come? Some of the basic things I asked in the introduction, we can start delving into that. You don't have to commit to it. You can change it later on. You can change your entire character later on, by the way. So, people tend to get attached to their characters pretty quickly, but characters do die sometimes, or you just want to switch. So that's fine. You come up with a different name and different backstory with your characters, and you can even have two characters that are sort of related to each other somehow. They actually have some sort of entanglement. But it's really great for you to entangle with each other. It's great for you to have backstories where you realize, oh, let's pretend that we got on the carriage at the same time because we actually know each other. We were criminals together, or we were noble friends, or we were shopkeepers, or we had adventures since childhood. It's nice to find somebody else at the table you have a connection with. That's fun. But also your background can stay really sketchy. So it's sort of like a lens that's slowly coming into focus. It can be very blurry for now, and that's okay. Sometimes you'll choose to sharpen it. And so you keep building your backstory backwards as you progress forward. It's an interesting way to build out your character. So it's okay to be a bit of a blank slate. I'm going to pause there again. You might want to start talking to each other, or start deciding, writing down what your character names are and some of the things that think about where you got on. And I can recap some of those things. If you say, I can't remember, what are my options? I'll get into that as well. So, you have a few minutes to discuss that amongst yourself or ask me questions.
Question.
Yeah.
So, full crest. Is that near, like, you said somewhere in the water, like...
That's right, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
is that in water?
Yep, so if we're in the big holodeck of Timberway Valley, so if you were outside this Cobalt dungeon, you'd be standing in the Caves of Chaos area, you'd be looking to the north, and the farms are up that way. Nentir Valley is where you came from, that's where the carriage started, and it's over there, it's over to the west. There's a big mountain range if you were outside, you can see a big snowy mountain range, really as far as the eye can see going northwest. And you came from over those mountains. The carriage came from the other side of those mountains over there. On the other side of those mountains is another valley. It's called the Nentir Valley because the Nentir River runs through it.
That's to the west, on the other side of the
That's to the
mountains.
west, exactly, yeah. So if this were north and you're looking this way, you see some big mountains, and you can see the mountain, you would even be able to see the mountain pass, there's a crack, there's a big icy wall that it might even be visible from this point, depending on how kind of day it is. And you can see there's a notch carved in that icy wall that allowed the carriage to get through and the road to get through. And yeah, on the other side is Fallcrest. So the Nentir River is over there, and the Nentir River flows kind of north to south. You follow the Nentir River for a while. It flows through Fallcrest. Fallcrest is your best option for a big city that you're from. If you've got something in your backstory, these pre-written backstories you have, as I said before, you can completely ignore the backstory. That's only if you just want to say, I don't feel like thinking of a backstory. Those are perfectly good. Yeah, that's right. And there's some translations as well. So if it says you're from a big city, we might say, same thing, but you're from Fallcrest. We can translate that stuff. But if you want to be from a big city, it's great to be from Fallcrest. Important thing about Fallcrest, it's got a very rich area and a very poor area with a big cliff separating them and a waterfall coming down. So you could decide whether you're from the posh sort of upper elite or the very slummy, very broken down place that's been torn down with war and stuff. Yeah. So I don't know if anybody have any other ideas of where they're from or what your other options are. Lake Nen is a beautiful, pristine lake north of Fallcrest. Between those two, there's kind of like farms, and so it's like the suburbs of Fallcrest. You can be kind of from a farming community. But Lake Nen is very natural. Maybe there's a farm, but it's a lot of natural tree houses and hobbit holes and stuff like that. And then further up the mountain is Falling Water Inn, and there's a bunch of little survival towns. So you might have come from a mine or something like that way up there. Those are probably your main options. You don't have to fill it in, but if any of those appeal to you, you can start talking about that. And so maybe you compare your notes with each other. Next time I'll set you up. You need a stamp.
I just love that.
And do you need dice?
I got some dice.
Great,
Yeah,
okay, fantastic. All right. Well, great to have you back again.
I'm
gonna pick the
and
lines around for
Yeah.
All right. Well, start the action in 5 minutes. For those of you watching Twitch land, we'll be starting playing in 5 minutes. They're talking about their characters
so
right
I
now.
just
Right.
I had a question
Yeah.
about
When the chip on
the
your shoulder.
cleric
So,
domain spell.
the other
That's
back-
changed. What changes there? What's a domain spell?
Yeah. So if you go to D&D Beyond, you can pick your domain, and you can change it anytime. So don't worry about changing your character. You don't have to make up a new character if you just want to change something. Your domain, it flavors your cleric. So you first pick a god and your deity, god or goddess, or whatever kind of pronoun.
I got Ogma,
Right.
that's the next
So
stop.
Ogma, each deity has certain domains that they rule over. So if you worship Ogma, you can say, I'm going to go to that domain. Now you're a wizard. It's quite unusual for wizards to be into religion. Your religion is called initiate, so you kind of hit both worlds, the arcane and the divine struggle. Whereas a clerik is very much devoted to a god. So you're knowledgeable at Ogma, and so you've got temple rites and things like that. But you don't draw your power from that deity. You draw your power from a deity. It would be written somewhere in your character sheet.
The next brother down is sort of the farmer who's
Yeah.
I was wanting to see if I could shut.
Yes, very much so.
Next brother down is
Yeah, so I'd encourage you to go to D&D Beyond, and basically you can rebuild that character, just make all the same choices that character made, but change the deity, change the domain, and I'm sure you'll change a couple other things, because it'll be very tempting to change your character in other ways. You can change what spells you know. So as a cleric, the spells are accessible to pretty much all flavors of clerics the same way. But your domain means what the domain that you worship in gives you automatically a couple spells that you always have prepared. So usually at the beginning of the day, you can only prepare a certain number of spells. Like I'm ready, God, to cast these spells today.
Which I notice is.
build on it.
And
So
that's
that's
what
what
we think.
That's right, because this one is a
Because
worshiper
now
of
I
the
could
life
go, I could
domain,
go and
right?
try
And so it's
hunting.
very heavy on healing, so you always know
bring
those.
back.
I'll explain as we get more advanced. I'll explain the tough choices you have to make about what spells.
Something useful.
If you
to
choose
do.
your domain, you'll have a different set of
But,
spells you automatically
all
know,
good
but you
things
still
can
can
do.
learn cure wounds and light
Sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
But you'll just be using one of
Gardens
his
from here,
preparations.
Thoughts
for
of
dragon
Spool.
pain, burnt down all
Having
the
no
farms,
backstory
killed my
in the
parents, killed the second brother.
So
Yeah, that'd be great. Exactly. That's a great way to tie it together.
So now,
And Ogma's a very interesting
my
god
oldest
to work
brother-
with.
He's still
I actually adapted some of my stuff to
Still like
the
major
Ogma.
over the whole.
And do I get
because
that?
the other brother's a priest, so
I'll be starting in a couple minutes.
So he sold the farm, he gave me a bit of money, and that's what I used to get off the carriage
Build pieces here.
Unlimited.
and go and make a new life.
I command respect
So,
share my space.
yeah,
And I can move on the right
we'll do something.
Me and my companions expect to receive free healing.
I'm sure, maybe, yes, I think it was like nothing from
For
here.
this
If
one
they
game,
share my
I'm
religion,
gonna
Use what little money I had that I was given from the proceeds of the farm to
and
get
it's
on
like,
the
you
carriage.
can't remember if he likes chickens.
where I have a residence,
Hire,
when I can never
see where it goes. I'm not going to be able
It's
to
like this
afford
old
farms
chair,
at the moment,
pigeon
so
chair.
Very interesting.
So you're keen to find treasures out here?
yes, create options, create options, exactly.
Yeah, when I was younger, myself and my girlfriend got robbed and she got killed. And I went after them, but I wasn't there to defend myself when word got back, so she was from royalty, so was
D&D,
I.
right?
Two high royal families. And then,
Just joined in.
It gets to be more and more like real life.
It's
funny. It's really true.
I was
It's
like,
not
whoa.
Like, yeah, there are times where you talk,
And,
about your D&D
so
character,
now
and it
they've
starts
put
feeling like
out,
you're talking about your actual self. You get this wonderful sort of, you're temporarily somebody else. And
My
the story
partner,
is very
she'd be like, yes, this is you.
right, yeah. Yeah, so often the characters are like a idealized version of yourself or a transgressive alter ego of yourself. Those are two classic things that people do when they make characters.
So you
I
have
know my
frame,
real
I would
self
do
is
that.
different, but like,
Well,
like
I
Grace
went
inside
after
is more like this.
Right.
without saying anything.
Okay, it is 6 o'clock, so we'll definitely be going soon. Welcome everyone in Twitch land. We'll be going quite soon.
I wasn't around anymore, so they just assumed it was me. So then when the word got back to me that that's what happened, well then I couldn't go back and I can't go back until I've got proof.
And where did you go back to?
It will be the next fortnight.
All right. Start tying up your chat because we'll be going soon.
That's right.
So yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
No, it's basically having just trust about it. Like, it's
so-
only like that.
And then
Right, okay.
follows a particular kind of drunken nature.
But then there is the whole thing between my partner where every time I pick a character,
All right, everyone.
and some video game, it does like some sort of chicken head.
Very
I
good.
comes from a noble family. So I'm trying to think.
All right, so have a brief announcement to make. So first of all, welcome back. It's really great that so many of you come back. It's great to have a table be large. It's still okay, if you after the session decide like, oh, I got the idea, I'll move on. You won't hurt my feelings, but it does make me feel good to have you all come back. Speaking of going to other games and trying new things, the announcement about the Green Beacon, that is in Sunday, exactly. So that's in meetup.com, 2 o'clock on Sunday. So the Green Beacon in Tenerife is on Helen Street. There's only one Green Beacon in Brisbane, as far as I know. It's on Helen Street, very nice, very by the river. Got a lot of space, it's not too loud. A couple tables, I know the people there. I drink beer and think about D&D a lot. So bartenders know me quite well around the valley in Tenerife. And that's where I hang out and we'll meet up there. The main purpose of that is to find new games to play. Now, some people play multiple D&D games because they really get the bug. You might have a weekly game if you want to really fill your schedule, or maybe it's something that's 2 weekly like this one. If you want a different type of game, so some people say, I like D&D, but it's quite mechanical and rules-driven with a lot of combat and stuff like that. And my style admittedly goes that way. As a game designer, I like the mechanics. But there are RPGs that I very much advocate, which are very story-driven. They're very much about personality. They're very much about telling an interesting story, and the combat tends to be very fleeting. Just one die roll with 6-sided dice is quite simple. Come to the pub meetup. I'll be able to talk about those games and introduce people, but people there might know those games already. There might be new GMs. if you want to become a GM, if you want to start GMing yourself, really after just playing 2 or 3 times, you can get what's called a starter kit. They sell them here, and I'll probably bring one to the pub. And you can just read through it as a DM, and you can actually start being a DM in a game. This is nicely laid out for you, so I really encourage that. We've got some great people who started off as players and quickly became DMs, and they're very satisfied by that. And I like growing the communities. It's a great feeling. So that's another reason to come if you want to maybe find people to GM, new players. Or just straight ahead D&D. It's just that I can only fill up so many slots of D&D, but there's people who also might be going a little faster, like you like D&D, but you want to like get more advanced more quickly. You feel like you've got the hang of it. I'll be speeding up, but I just want to make sure not to leave anybody behind. But if you want more accelerated D&D, that's another place to check it out. So come at 2 o'clock and we'll cover that. All right. So the scene that we most recently had was the Kobold Jail. So you have just put down the threat. The kobolds and the goblin boss all came in. The goblin boss got taken down quite gloriously. I see it smile over there, yes, that's a sacred flame with the vines, and I remember it now. So once the goblin boss went down, the kobolds all wanted to scatter and flee. You're like, none of that. So you killed a lot of kobolds on the way out. So there's these bodies lying around, bodies of kobolds and the body of the goblin boss. You were invited by the red ghost here, whose name is Torg. Says, join us for the strong, pointing down to a trap door that he's standing over. And, you considered your options, so like, yeah, let's go down there. So that's the scene. You're still in the jail. You hear the kobolds, and you checked out, and you crept down and know the kobolds there's still a lot of kobolds, but they're behind a portcullis. You can hear their sound, so imagine that sort of, those chattering, sort of echoing down this corridor. So you think there's a possibility they'll rally and counterattack. They're kind of talking about that, when you sort of spied on them earlier, but you really kicked their butts last time, and they seem a little bit chicken. So you're not sure how much danger you're in. Normally, this is where you'd want to get a rest, right? You've been banged up. Who here is like quite low on hit points? Yeah, raise your hand if you've lost a few hit points. Yeah. Also, raise your hand if you've spent some spell slots. You've cast some spells, right? Yeah, because you only have a limited number of spells that you've cast. You should be writing down when you cast what's called a first level spell. We'll talk about spell limitation later. So you're a little bit depleted, yeah? Normally what you would do is you could take a short rest, but I'll describe that later. I'm going to give you a great deal. I'm going to give you the benefits of a long rest by a DM cheat that I do. I have a house rule. Is inspired by video games because I'm a video game designer from way back. I remember in Diablo, as soon as you got to be a new level, you instantly got full health, full mana, all of your spells back. It's just a great feeling. Like, ding, you just take off. I like to recreate that myself. So when you become a new level, you quite quickly have the effect of a long rest. And I'm going to basically give you that benefit here because you are fully level 1. So before you're kind of like, you're still getting to know your character, you have blank spots in your sheet. Now nobody can say you're not a level 1 character, you've done some fighting, and I'm going to give you the benefits of a long rest. So please do benefits of a long rest, and I'll describe what that is. All right, hit points. First of all damage from hit points is gone. Remember I said you are an extraordinary person. Unlike most regular people, you can take a beating and the next day, you do not have any wounds anymore. You recover from massive damage overnight. You would also normally get a hit die. You haven't spent any hit dice, but that's something that's in the middle of your sheet is hit dice. That's a resource that you spend during short rests. So don't worry about that, but you would normally get a hit die. Your powers all recharge, including your spell slots. So any record you've had of casting spells, you can erase that. You've got the same capacity to cast spells as you did at the beginning of the last fight. Again, I'll explain how spell slots work. But you clerics, you can cast 2 of those big spells, like Bless and Cure Wounds a day, I believe. Is it written down as 2 or 3? I can't remember. Wizards can basically cast 3 a day if you get a short rest. You can cast 2, and then you get 1 back when you do a short rest. Those are your big ones, like Magic Missile and stuff. But all of you, magic casters, clerics and mages, have something called cantrips. Those you can cast any number of times, you never run out. And those are pretty useful in combat. Sacred Flame is a cantrip. Ray of Frost from the mage is a cantrip. So, about as good as a warrior swinging a sword. Maybe a little bit higher, so you're a little bit squishy. You do a little higher damage than a warrior, but you're a lot more vulnerable. So your powers recharge. Any kind of short rest or long rest, you fighters, you get your second wind back. Second wind is something that recharges on short or long rest. So if you've noted that, you've got that. Remember, as a warrior, you can heal yourself even in the middle of battle, so that's a good one to have. And I think that's probably all that we need to cover about powers recharging. Every class will eventually have things, so you can only do this once per long rest or once per short rest. So we'll get to those later. Eat and drink. Normally you'd be needing to eat and drink, but you haven't actually slept, so you're not actually hungry. But this is a time to look ahead to how you're doing with your supplies. By default, almost every character has rations and a water skin. Except for the mages, I noticed. The mages are I think, are made to be dependent on others, and they're very scholarly. They have pen and ink. They're the only ones that have that.
Drink the ink.
You can try drinking the ink. Other than that, if this were an actual morning, if you actually needed a feed, you would have to be borrowing food from somebody else here and borrowing from their water skin. But for now, don't worry about that. Assume your water skins are full because you just got them back. You just fought for them and got them back, and your rations are in your pockets. So don't worry about eating and drinking. But if you don't have those written down on your character sheet, you do not have it. I'm very strict on it has to be on your sheet. Because it's so much fun when people start starving and having to scavenge for food and also do favors for each other. Like, oh, I've got 10 rations. I'm willing to give you one, but you know,
So
you owe me a
should be
favor.
keeping note of like days, or you tell us, okay, now it's
I'll
day
let you know.
6, which means if you only have 10 days of rations, you only have 6.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
days.
Usually let the days tick by one at a time, and I'll say, okay, end of long rest. Make sure you eat. You just like you eat one meal a day. So that's the way I track it. Disease progress. Luckily, those fleas, you know, you've gotten out of the cells. So, but if you had something like that, that would be getting worse. So, the last thing about spells, just a little bit more complex. For now, I would just assume whatever's written on your sheet is the spells that you have prepared. So, as a spellcaster, and this is something that, you know, it's best to come early and I'll talk to you more about your character, but just briefly as a spellcaster, you have to commit to which spells you have prepared. You might have a spell book as a wizard with 10 spells, but your brain can only hold on to a certain number of them, and those are the only ones you can cast that day, and you use your spell slots to burn them, right? So you say, I'm going to be ready to cast Magic Missile, then you can cast 3 Magic Missiles that day. But if in the morning say, no, I'd rather learn Sleep than Magic Missile, then you can't cast Magic Missile. Clerics are the same way. Who you pray to the way you pray in the morning to your god, you ask your deity to imbue you with certain spells. So there's a strategic element that you start to get with the spellcasters. All right, but we'll just take the default, unless if you want to ever get more advanced than that, come a little bit early and we can talk about that. This room has a trapdoor up, but it's obviously really overgrown. You see roots and stuff poking through it. It looks like it's really old and rotten. And of course, the one that you're supposed to go through is down below. And yeah, Liam, we can go to the next slide, which is the Guardian slide. Yeah, there you go. So, your goal right now is to get down the trapdoor. You all don't have to look at the screen. This is for people who are watching us on the stream, just to help them understand. And some of these little codes, if you are a Patreon subscriber, you can actually start getting materials eventually. I'll provide materials, and those codes will help you find some stuff like this. You can do this yourself. All right, you are in the red dungeon. Torg, the red ghost, really wants to make sure that you're serious. Now, last time you didn't really interact with Torg a great deal. You pretty much got out of the cell. Torg was doing like, jailbreak, help! But then realized that you were looking pretty strong, and Torg seems to be less alarmed about you breaking out and is more, interested. That's why he was saying, come on down for the strong. But what does anybody here feel like they've got something they can mention Torg? Torg is still sort of considering whether you're ready to go down there. Maybe he's just messing with you, or maybe he actually needs convincing. Does anybody have a particular argument that they want to make to convince Torg to get down there so you can start?
Somebody with a high charisma.
Right, yep, so you can just use persuasion as a skill. But anybody might have just a good idea. Like if you have a good thing, a good line to give to Torg that you think will convince Torg.
Did you not just see us like heal our wounds magically?
Ah, very good, yeah. So that's it. Torg's like, that is impressive, Torg says.
I was almost dead.
Good, that's right.
Fine.
Good. Anything else that happened in this last battle you think should especially be impressive to Torg? Torg doesn't seem to have the memory like a normal person. Ghosts are kind of absent in some ways. Anything else happened in the last battle that you think really shows that you deserve to go down?
How we killed the goblin boss.
Right, that goblin
That was
boss is a
pretty
tough
impressive.
one,
I
yeah.
think it was you, right?
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. Remember that spell, remember that stuff. So yeah, so Torg is listening to that. As he's listening, he's sort of stroking, his sort of red lapel, and he's sort of nodding. He's very interested in, what your skills are. And as you're sort of talking about what you've done, he seems to be kind of addressing you. Who has got good insight? If you've listed insight somewhere on your sheet as something that you're pretty good at, I would say that means that you're good at reading people. And I'll ask you who are trained in insight first. Does this remind you? It reminds you of something. I'll see if you think of it as a character.
+3.
Okay, great. The way that this character, with this red armor is listening and very interested in your activities it sort of rings a bell. Like his attitude reminds you of somebody else's attitude you've come across. Does that? Do you remember? Anybody remember?
Is this the red guy we met?
Yeah.
Back in the first day.
Very good.
Sitting
Yeah.
on the fire.
Is
Yes,
that in
exactly.
the-
Yeah,
The
sitting at the
tower, wasn't
fire.
there a tower? Wasn't
Exactly.
there?
Yeah. So that's those two pieces of the jigsaw puzzle sort of
he
snapped
dwarf?
together a bit. He was a
The
human.
dwarf
so
was the dwarf was in the tavern.
yeah, there's the dwarf in the tavern, but the guy in the tower who had the chain coming out of the fire, he also was asking the kobolds, okay, what did they do when they were fighting? What happened? And seemed very interested. So you, with the high insight, with a little bit of help from your friends, realized like, this is sort of a similar kind of thing. So I think based on that, unless anybody's got something else that they will convince. Yeah, you after reminding Torg of those things, Torg decides to let you down. Let you down there.
You got another pencil we can borrow?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry.
No worries. So, Torg.
Got one.
Anybody else?
So other pencils and a pen.
True, yeah,
Okay, no worries. There you go.
This is
So Torg.
right.
Yeah.
Just guess make a mistake.
Of course. Yeah. Anybody else need anything? I can't remember if you saw this last time. Did you ever see Torg twist his foot to
Yes.
operate? Yeah. So he opened up one of the doors of the cell that way. He does the same thing. Remember, he's often transparent, but he becomes sort of solid at different times, and he becomes solid again, and sort of lands on the floor, and is stomping and putting his foot on these discs in a certain way. It's kind of a combination. And he does it fast enough that you're not sure if you'd be able to reproduce it
I
yourself.
was just about to ask that.
Yeah.
Can
What
we
you do
see
is
it?
we might retroactively do. So you're all watching this. If you ever need to do it, just remind me. Say, hey, I was there when Torg did it. Did my character memorize it? And you actually do an intelligence check to see, or you just have to fool around randomly. But after several twists, the pop door just like that, like something's released it. So you could tell that if you had somehow pulled on this trap door, it would have been useless. It seems thick and seems very well guarded, but something is released, but it isn't open yet. And he just has a satisfied smile, but he has that sort of like coach's sort of like, now what kind of smile? He's looking at you again appraisingly. He sort of floats backward. He turns transparent and floats backward and just watches what you do. So, who would like to be the one to open the trapdoor?
I'm not going to trapdoor. Someone's going to come shooting at it.
This is adventure.
Can we check it for a trap?
Sure. Yeah. So you.
Trap door.
Yeah, it's a trap door, right? So those of you who are trained, I guess, with perception, you know, as if you're a thief, you're sort of assessing things very carefully. So if you're trained, when a group is this big, normally anybody can do perception, but when you have a group this big, somebody's going to roll a 20, right? So I'd limit it in this case to people who have a little black dot next to the word perception.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
That's fighters.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. So if the green sheets, I don't think anybody else is trained in perception. You are as well.
Yep.
Okay.
And
I've got a
wizards.
Oh, fantastic.
I've got a +4.
Okay. Okay.
Perception? Ooh.
Yeah, so
Except
all of
all
you,
of us.
all of you are very quiet, and
Yes,
you also
sir.
sort of examining things. So all of you have a dot next to your perception,
Yeah.
like you do. Roll
Yeah,
a
just-
d20 and add the bonus. Tell me all the things you get.
10.
14.
Yeah.
15.
16.
Okay. Good. Yeah. 16,
7.
15, 16, 18. You basically discover everything. You'll discover that 15 is a good threshold. 10 is a good threshold for like, you'll basically succeed or succeed at a price or partially. 15 is usually a full success, unless you're dealing with something extraordinarily like designed to try to foil you. So this one, yeah, you think that you've got a pretty good handle on it. It is, but it's eerily quiet. You check very carefully, like, is there a trap? Are there wires? Is there a magical rune? You focus there. And this is often, sometimes what I'll do is I'll roll on your behalf about or whether there's a trap there or not, because sometimes I randomize this. I'll just keep you guessing. Yeah, it always makes players nervous when the DM starts rolling things behind the screen. And as far as you can tell, there's nothing there, but who got like over a 16 or 17? You think that pressing your ear and just shushing everybody, you think you hear like a clink, like it sounds like metal on stone, just a little delicate clinking sound.
Is this after
Also-
he's unlocked it?
Yes, after he's unlocked it, yeah, it's released. You can pull it open,
And
so
it's clinking.
you realize you could pull this open, but it seems like distantly down there somewhere, not the door itself. There's a distant sort of hollow sound of a clink. Those of
Is
you
it
roll
like
very
a
high.
repetitive thing?
No, it
like
just
a
happened
one,
once,
or
like you're
just-
and then here's one clink, and then silence. But also, as you sit there, you realize it's very cold. Like the whole floor is sort of chilly compared to everything else, but also there's a very cold air seeping up through the cracks that have sort of been opened up by this thing. So you know the winter's down there is frosty. So once again, who is the one that's going to open the trap door?
Well, that clink could be the trap activating.
Who knows?
How
There's
heavy
one way
is
to find
it?
out.
Like, is it something that
Until
you
give it a
and
pull.
Then, like,
Yeah.
pull open it and then just duck out of the way? Or-
Yeah, it opens up. Yeah, it's like,
It's
it has
pretty
a
easy to
hinge.
open up.
So,
Any
yeah,
of the
so
mages
somebody's got to
have
grab and
mage
open up.
hand?
Oh yeah.
I
yeah.
have.
Do you have mage hand?
I'd love to say yes.
I-
Mage hand is only pick up light objects 5
Ah,
pounds.
okay.
But so one of you uses mage hand, like stand back, but the mage hand's like, I just can't quite do it.
Can't
It's obviously
lift it.
heavier than that because it's just a
Right.
very heavily constructed door. It doesn't have a hydraulic system.
I've got a +2 strength.
Yep. Yeah. I think anybody could open it, so don't. That's not an excuse to chicken out if you don't have high strength. Anybody could open it, but one person is going to be the one that pulls it and is standing there as a
Yeah.
I've got a
who's going to
crowbar.
do it?
I'll
Probably don't need it.
open it. I'll open it.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, exactly. Your heroes got to get stuck in.
Yeah.
I promise to heal you.
Yeah, that's right. You're getting ready.
Okay.
You open it
from
up.
the back.
Yeah, I go from the back.
Yeah.
The room down there is completely dark. There's no source of light, but there's a little bit of a dim red light all around here, and it means that a little bit of dim light cascades down there. You can tell there's a brick floor 10 feet down. That's one of the first things that you see, so it's not a huge void. Definitely cold air kind of puffs up at you. It doesn't do any damage, but it's the kind of thing like, wow, it's unusually cold down there. And you can sort of see at an angle, you see just in the sort of square that's visible, a black chain that's sort of coming into view and then out of view. It looks like a long black chain is lying on the red brick floor down there. As you're standing there for a second, does anybody do something right away? Does anybody say, yay, jump in?
No, I'd like to have a look because I've got darkness is like daylight. For
Ah,
me, and
that's
I've
right,
got
very good.
120 feet.
Yeah,
so,
so
I'd like
dark
to,
vision?
I'd like to have a look in.
Very good.
in there.
So those of you, some of you have dark vision, so you sort of maybe edge around the trapdoor without committing, so you can sort of see at different angles.
Yeah.
You can see that there's 3 or 4, it's hard to tell, chains that are lying on the floor,
3 or
and
4.
you can see that the chains themselves, they look sharp, like they don't look like sort of black rounded chains. They look like they have sort of edges and sort of spikes on them, and they seem to be sort of lying in some sort of pattern all over the floor down there. But you can't see the edges of the room because it's really an awkward angle. So,
Can we just throw something down there?
yeah,
See
yeah.
Can I say it looks like a snake pit and that looks like a cage? I don't know whether I want to go down anymore.
I have it down there.
Sure. So if you light a torch, you don't have to cross it off because you can always put it out again. So if you have a torch, let's
Yeah,
say
I've
you
got
do
a
that. Then you throw a torch and knock down there, and it now illuminates with a little pool of bright light. You can see that the bricks are very. The bricks look very new. Like the bricks up here look kind of worn down. Down there, the bricks look quite fresh and new. You can also see a bit of sparkle, like there's actual frost on these bricks. It's so cold down there. As it touches the chain itself scoots out of the way and makes that little clinking sound.
Ah,
So what?
As
moves
the
away.
torch-
Moves away from
the chain sort of just the bit of the chain that the torch touches sort of moves away.
heat.
Not sure. Then then you notice, those of you who have normal vision say, is there like a light growing, like the torch light thing, but now there's a whole red glow slowly is coming up, and you can tell like now the whole room down there sort of has a dim red light. It's like something has added to the light down there. It's beyond the torch.
I have a rope. Could someone lower themselves down there without touching the floor?
Yeah, Torg says, for the strong, for the brave, who goes? He's looking rather judgmental because you're all sort of
I'm
saying,
going to light my lantern, use the rope, and get down.
all right, there we go. So the rope needs to be attached to them. You can like tie it to one of the bars of the cell, or somebody could hold the rope. How do you want to do the other end of the rope?
I can hold
Who's
it
the
for
strong
you.
person?
Lower you down.
I might say bars of the cell.
Yeah.
And touch it to that.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So you do, and you're watching your rogue. So you're watching the rogue go on down. At this moment, I want to sort of paint a picture of what you are, what characters you are. So this is where I'm going to introduce all of you now that we're getting into action, okay? I'm going to get your character name, I'm going to get your pronoun, so I don't have to call you things like the rogue, all right? So I'll just go around the table. As the action starts, we have a little bit of a freeze frame, what you all look like, and I encourage you to think about that, okay? Right. Who wants to start with their name?
I will.
Okay, what's your name?
Melgwyn, Maelgwen.
Okay, great. And Melgun, what's the
He's
pronoun? He is, yeah.
He's a he,
Yep.
dark elf.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, drow.
So he's got
And you are
really
a fighter.
black, like a blue black skin,
Yeah,
pure white hair,
yeah.
about 5'1".
Okay.
fairly slim, nimble,
Great.
40 years old, which is pretty young for an elf.
Okay, okay, good. Thank
Yeah.
you. And what is your real name as well? Because I connect that here.
Todd.
Todd. Oh, great. Thank you very much, Todd. All right, who wants to go next?
Should we just go around?
Yeah.
I'll go next. So, I'm a human male.
Yeah.
My name is Archie, which is actually a nickname.
Okay,
Being
great.
An archer, because
Yeah.
I was a hunter.
Very good.
My surname is May, Mei. So
Okay.
Archie May.
Right, good, good.
Um,
And you are a fighter.
fighter, and I'm probably sort of in my early 30s.
Okay, great. And we'll get deeper as we go.
Yeah.
So right now, yeah, this is a brief description, but every time that we start, I'll actually be asking this and you can fill in more and more about what those things are.
Yeah.
Thank you. Archie, what is your actual name?
Mark.
Mark, okay. Okay, thank you, Mark, and thank you, Archie. Next.
I'm a human as well. I thought I was male. I'm not sure.
It's up to you.
Not
You can
familiar.
choose your,
I think
you
I'm
can
male.
choose both your actual biological sex
Yeah.
and choose your gender expression, your pronoun,
Yeah.
however you like. You can mix it up any way you like.
I'm from Crest, and I'm sort of running from a bad home. I'm from the good side of town, but I have a big chip on my shoulder, and I've got a lot to prove.
Nice,
Good
okay.
education, and I've gone through the training and that sort of thing, so I've got my skills. But
Very good.
yeah,
Did you say you're a he?
I-
He or she?
Yeah, I think
A
I'm
he?
yeah.
And what is his name?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
And what is
Maybe
your
that's the
actual
journey.
name?
Maria.
Maria, thank you,
Yeah.
Maria.
Maybe that's the to find your true.
Yes.
So he is a human, I believe,
Could
yes.
have maybe a
Human
little
fighter
accent.
one.
Yeah, maybe I was never happy with my name.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next.
So my actual name is Merv.
Great.
So I'm a Hill Dwarf.
Hildorf, great.
Cleric.
Right.
And you would have all originally met my character at the tavern, drunk and rambling about his drunken nature god.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Catching anyone's ear who would listen to him.
Nice. I
And
like
was
that.
singing at some point with the original carriage master before she died.
Oh, okay, great. Yep.
Um,
May she rest in peace.
He introduced himself all to you as Tulip.
Tulip? Yeah, spelled like the flower?
Yep.
Right on. Great. Thank you. Good. I like that image. Thank you, Tulip, and thank you, Merv. Next.
I'll say the same as Merv. Yeah, I'm Charlie, by the way.
Yeah.
My character's name is Darakan. He's a halfling.
Right.
A halfling rogue.
Yep.
He is 21.
How do I spell that? Sorry.
Let's just say D-A-R-R-A-K-E-N.
Great. Derek. Yeah. Sorry. Go on.
Yeah. He's a halfling rogue. In terms of his backstory, or like I would say his personality, he's quite playful.
Yep.
But when he's in combat or when he's unsure, he can be quite serious, standoffish.
Yeah.
In terms of his backstory, he trusts very few people. He likes animals. He's not really willing to tell many people what's happened to him in the past.
Ah, okay.
He's very-
Wow.
He's hiding something.
He's very opportunistic. So he's like, he can be playful when he's comfortable, like silly because he's only 20.
Yeah.
Still very like adventurous and naive at the same time. When something's scaring him or something's not working his way, he'll shut that down. And just do
Ooh,
whatever he
interesting.
wants,
Okay.
you know?
Good. Good choices.
Like
Thank you
fight
very
or
much.
flight, pretty much.
Yeah. Right on. Okay, Derek.
Yeah, man.
That's Derek. Yeah.
Are we playing Adventure Week rules or house rules?
Oh, so we're playing really vanilla D&D straight out of the Player's Handbook and DMG. I have a couple DM house rules, and I use that. I don't use Adventure League rules, so yeah, it's out of the books. Question from Twitch. Thank you very much. Okay, next.
Okay, so I'm a 5 foot, blonde-haired dwarf, hill dwarf, who was encountered the rest of the party drunk in a corner at the tavern.
All right, good.
You get this thing,
Must be a thing for
suspicion.
dwarfs.
Yeah.
Suspicion that might have been the first time I've been able to actually get alcohol. So I might not have needed too much, but all in robes of the goddess that I worship at the family mine / monastery.
Okay, yeah.
Name is Dane.
Dane, all right, Dane. What's Dane's pronoun?
He.
Dane, okay, so
And
he's a hill dwarf.
I'm Dave.
Five foot
D-A-V-I.
one.
It's my actual name.
D-A, sorry?
Davey.
Davey. Great. Thank you, Davey, and thank you, Dane the Hill Dwarf. Great. Thank you.
My name is Del Anastasia,
Yeah.
and I am a high elf, a sun elf.
Great.
I have deep bronze skin, really long, straight black hair,
Ah.
and piercing silver eyes.
Hey, yeah.
Silver,
Cool.
yeah. And so I'm 82 years old, so I'm still a few decades off declaring myself an adult.
Yeah, not quite adult, because elves live a very long time. That's very accurate. Yeah.
And so I've spent the last few decades hanging around the tree houses
Yeah.
around Nan Lake.
Okay, great.
And studying, very, very interested in learning what I can. And I was inspired to join this party. In my recent trances, I've been getting messages from my god Ogma,
Ooh,
who's
nice.
got a mission for me. And I'm not quite sure what that is yet, but
I
I'm
know what that mission is
excited
actually.
about-
Yeah, I
I'm
know what that
excited about
mission
the fact
is.
that we just
Ogma
encountered
definitely.
a goblin.
Yeah. Great. Now, Ogma definitely wants you to go to Timberway Valley. I know exactly why. That's great. Okay. Now, the name is Del Anastasia.
Del,
Mhm.
yeah.
Last name is Anastasia then.
Anastasia, yeah.
And what is the pronoun for Del Anastasia?
She or they, I don't really mind.
Yeah, I can pick either one. I'm comfortable with either. She or they?
That's fine.
She? Okay. All right. Yeah, so she's a high sun elf. And what is your cleric, yeah? Cleric.
I'm a wizard.
Wizard, sorry. Wizard 1. That's right. Okay, thanks very much. What is your real name?
Melinda.
Melinda. Okay, great. Thank you, Melinda. Thank you, Del. Welcome. Next.
Right, so my character is a fighter human folklore, called May. Yeah. She's
Okay.
very young, like very young.
Yep.
Like
okay,
not
yeah.
child, but like late teenager, early adult.
Okay, great.
And she grew up very poor with her parents because they had to leave their home very abruptly.
Yeah, good.
So they couldn't take anything with them, and so they travelled around until they got to Full Crest. And when she was there, she kind of did a bunch of different jobs growing up to help her parents out.
Oh, good.
Which is where, or why she's come to Timberway Valley, because she worked on a ship for a while,
Yeah, yeah.
and the ship captain was very not great to all the employees there, tended to steal wages and fight people for very small crimes and just even attitude and things like that.
Good.
So she was kind of like, you know what, fuck you, I'm going, and I'm going to take these 10. I'm going to take these 10 gold coins with me as I go.
Okay,
So,
great.
I'll just
take this for my trouble, May.
Yeah, okay, this is my
That's great.
trouble.
Do you
So-
spell May M-E-I or M-A-Y?
M-E-I.
M-E-I. Okay, she's a human. There's more to fill in, so that's great. That's
Yeah.
We'll keep filling in more the layers.
So-
that's a really great image.
That's why she came to Timberway Valley, because she's running for the captain, because she thought, she tends to kind of
Yeah.
charge right in. She's
Awesome.
but she is quite apprehensive of things that are unknown. She doesn't like think of the future, goes, that's a future me problem, I'm just going to do this right now.
Okay, good.
So she kind of took those gold coins and think anything would come of it.
Right.
But the captain realised and he started coming after her,
Good.
so she had
Got
to
a good
leave.
nemesis coming for you.
quite
Very good to
quickly.
hear. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Last.
You didn't ask
Oh, sorry. What's your actual name?
Oh, Isabella.
Isabella. Great. Thank you. Okay. Next, please. Thank you, Isabella. Thank you, May.
Hello.
Oh.
My character is a wizard high elf.
Yeah.
The name is Varys.
Yes. Great. Varys. All right.
I'm from Lake Nen. I grew up with a really big family, but because it was so big, I kind of felt lost in the crowd and never really close to anybody in the family.
Good to hear.
So I never really paid attention to anything that the family was about.
Yeah.
And then one day, I kind of went into my family home because I was just visiting because I'm never really there, and I touched a deck of cards that was
Ooh.
from my father, and I had a vision, and the vision told me to head off to the place we're going. So
Ah, okay, great. Go to Timberway Valley. I like that.
Deck of cards. Did you
Deck of
take the deck of
cards.
cards?
I did take the deck. I could put that on my bag right now.
Well,
Guys,
yeah. If
guys,
you come beforehand, we can say, oh, I want to have this special trinket. So beforehand, we'll do character customization. We'll get your deck of cards in there somehow. We might trade something out. That's very good. I like that detail a lot. What is Varys' pronoun?
it's he.
Varys, he is a wizard, high elf wizard. Okay, great. Thank you very much, everybody. Great. So, that crew is assembled right now as we have Charlie's rogue Darrican coming down the rope into the cold room. That's correct? Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna say like I'm swinging down and like I'm actually upside down and my legs are just hanging out and just looking around, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm just really curious as to what
Right.
is down there.
So the first thing that you might you feel what you might understand is the extreme cold. Are you able to see in the dark, or you are a halfling rogue? So you have so you're not able to, you don't have dark vision, so to speak, right?
I don't think so.
No.
Like,
So
I'm
so
just
the torch
Halflings
no
at
humans and
60 feet.
halflings. So the torch is like a sort of 20-foot radius, and then it's dim light for I think another 20
So
feet
I've
around.
got the lantern.
Yeah, oh, we have the
Yeah.
lantern around. Okay, good. So you shine the lantern around. So, and also the torch, actually, once you get used to the dim light, you can see the contents of this room. You haven't touched the floor yet as you go down. You see those chains are hooked up to the wall in various parts. There's like eyelets that are set into the bricks. The walls are brick, the ceiling is brick. There is no trap door down here, but there is an iron door off to one side of the room. That iron door is wrapped with chains, the same kind of chains that you see lying around, sort of spiky, sharp-looking chains. Over on one side of the room, there is basically a bench, a kind of sort of counter that's built out of bricks that's stepped out from the wall, and has got a number of objects, but from here you can't see. In the dim light, you see it's a little bit cluttered with stuff. You see that one of the walls has a mosaic, but you're sort of twisting around and you're sort of getting used to it. So maybe we'll describe the mosaic once there, but it seems like somebody's sitting by a fireplace with some sort of strange furniture.
How far away from the trapdoor is this bench?
It's a 60-foot square room, so the bench is maybe about 30 feet away.
Oh,
You're
so
right in
the
the center of this
trapdoor's
room.
right dead center.
Yeah, so you've dropped right in the center of this room. It's the same 60-foot width as the room up above, almost like the walls have continued down here. So exact same width, exact same type of walls as you go down.
So there's a door, a bench, and someone? You said someone?
No,
sitting-
a portrait. Didn't
Yes,
Oh, just a
yeah. So it
portrait,
looks like
okay.
a portrait down there, but not an actual person. So let me pull this up
Does that
here.
person look like the ghost?
It'd be better, yeah, once you get down there. No, it doesn't look like anybody that you've already recognized. So let me go ahead and describe that a bit more. But I think it's, again, Torg is like, join us for the brave, for the strong. Basically, all of you who are looking down there, he's basically, with an increasing sort of critical expression, he's like, just basically kind of get it done kind of thing. So you're all considering what to do as you check this out. It doesn't look like there's an immediate danger. However, these chains themselves, look like they could damage you if they were swung at you. But despite the fact you've sort of seen one a little bit, you don't really know more dangers involved than that. They're certainly not moving now.
Do the chains have an end? So are they lying on the floor?
Yeah, so
you can see
they're
them? It's
long
not
enough
like-
to basically reach anywhere in the room, but each of them is bolted to the wall
Right,
at various,
but they have an
various
end lying
parts.
on the
Yes,
floor.
and you do see that some of them, there are actually short chains with some shackles in a different place. Like this place is starting to feel like, ooh, okay, this is a place where people can be manacled, and that's.
And they moved by themselves when
You
that-
just saw
when
just
that
a little bit
torch-
when that torch, just when clink, it sort of explained that same kind of sound that you heard. That might explain the sound that you heard.
Can I possibly cast thaumaturgy down there to try and create a sound to see if there's create a sound to see if something happens?
Sure, yeah. So thaumaturgy,
Wow,
yeah, you sort of
I'm down
magically
there.
create sort of like a boom or a rumble. like
Battle
a-
ensues.
Yeah,
the boss
exactly.
just comes out and
Boom.
okay, we close the door.
Yeah.
They were close enough with
Yeah.
your cylinder, like pull them up, pull them up, pull them up, pull them up.
And it echoes, nothing reacts, nothing happens in the room, and you just, Torg is like, down, go down,
I reckon-
join us.
I reckon heat.
Can you grab the torch
Those
down
chains are
there
big.
and just sort of put it up against one of the chains?
Yeah.
Maybe it's
See if
not
it
touched,
reacts.
maybe it's because it's hot.
Will the chain retreat from it? Because I'm trying to see if the chain
I think
retreats
the
from
chain
the
did, yeah. So like
you're
as
down
I'm,
near
as
the-
I'm
you're
hanging
down
down,
near
I
the
just
floor.
lightly just set the
Okay.
lantern down.
All right, hero time. This is what you have often.
yeah.
I'm the kind of DM. This is like your characters, are not very tentative, So you have the sort of burning desire to keep going. So, in general, I'm going to sometimes encourage you, like, I think your adventurous spirit wants to act. So you can first of all stand on the floor. The chain is kind of a little bit, pretty much directly below you. You can sort of swing yourself, and then step next to the chain, or just drop and land on the chain. What do you want to do?
I'm gonna step on the side.
Okay, yeah,
Slightly
so
jump
just
down.
roll a quick acrobatics as you do. So you're sort
20.
of swinging a little bit. Yeah, roll a d20, and if you have acrobatics, let's do this a dexterity check.
17.
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah,
Wow.
you definitely sort of get to the side, and therefore you don't have to land on the chain. Okay, So all of you can lower yourself down and either gingerly, step on the chain or sit either side. As you do so, all of you do a bit of acrobatics check as you go down.
I'm not gonna swing that. I'm just gonna jump straight in.
Yeah, no, another one.
Okay,
20,
so
26,
12.
16.
12.
All right.
Oh, sorry,
I got a
13.
3.
Oh, okay. 3 is low enough that something might happen. Okay.
12.
Yeah. So you're going down. You're trying to hang on. Yep.
14.
Yeah. So just be your dexterity over here. Yeah.
Plus 3.
Yeah. If you rolled low, you rolled a 3. So it'd be a dexterity check. So it'd be a plus 3 here. So you got you say your total is 6.
Yep.
But still not very good.
Comment.
All right. So that means that as you're going down, goaded by Torg into getting going, you slip off of the rope and you land quite heavily on the chain. As the chain does, you feel like the point sort of sink. You have tough boots, so it doesn't cut your boot through and doesn't make you bleed. But as you do, it whips away and it smacks at your ankle, and then sort of settles down again. It's almost like the impact sort of caused it to lash back. And do a dexterity saving throw. You try to jump out of the way so it doesn't hit. You're going to roll your d20. Yep, just like that. There's a saving throw section.
19.
Yeah, great. Now saving throws. I had a question last time. Remember, saving throws are this little tiny box under the word proficiency bonus. It repeats all of your stats. So you do that, but you rolled very well. You jump out of the way. It hits the thick part of your boot, so that it doesn't seem to do any damage. And then it settles down again. The chain doesn't seem to like to be touched.
Don't touch the chains.
Okay, or it doesn't like to be sort of run into. Whoever else got a little bit low, if you touch the chain, some twitches a little bit, but it seems to just not like being impacted. It was because you landed on it hard. Or another one of you, who if you rolled especially low, you probably brushed the chain by accident, and it might have moved a little bit, but it didn't do the backlash that you did there. You can all check out this room a little bit more. So you're all down again. I don't want to railroad you all, but we have a bunch of people, and I figure let's kind of get this going. If you're going to the inspiration.
Look at the chains on the door
Okay.
to see if there's any locks.
Very good. As soon as you're all down there, Torg says, "For the brave," and he slams the trap door shut. So you hear a click. You knew that was coming. So you have a better look at this room. The mosaic is on the south side of the room, and it is a male dwarf. He is wearing red. He's wearing like a red leather fancy jacket. It could double his armor, but it's sort of fancy. He is sitting in a lounge, just like the mosaic is made of tiles, right? And he's sitting there reading a book. But you notice that he has sort of strange furniture. You realize that the furniture is people. His feet are resting on the back of a person, and there's somebody else like a table next to him. So there's one of them. He is in sort of he's bare-chested. He's got red shorts, and he is sort of bending over in a really sort of awkward position. His back is sort of perfectly flat. Sitting on top of his the small of his back is a sword and a chalice of wine, and he's sort of like holding up like a table. But he's got this very blissful expression on his face. This person in red who is the living table next to the dwarf, and the dwarf is sort of like resting his hand on this table as if he's just finished drinking the wine. He's looking at this fireplace, like there's a nice cheerful fire nearby. Apart from the strange furniture, his feet are propped up on sort of like an ottoman, but it is a woman. She is in a red silken dress, and she is on all fours with her back flat. And again, she has this very sort of peaceful, accepting look on her face in these strange positions. Both of them look very content with their lot. And he has got, anybody can see, a rather smug, superior, very self-satisfied look on his face with this fireplace in the background. That's very remarkable because the rest is just all brick. You take a look around also at like the bench, for example. So let's just say you sort of carefully sort of scatter throughout the room. So that bench, you saw there's some clutter there. First of all, as you get closer, you can see that on the floor there's spatters of blood here and there. There are like little bits, and you realize like there's a piece of a tooth nearby. You see, what looks like a bloody handprint. It looks like there's been, some wounding happening here. And remember, the bricks are sort of a little bit frosty, so some is sort of under a bit of frost. This bench is over on the east side of the room, and you notice a few things there. One that catches your eye is a bunch of needles. These are long, thin needles. They have a little ball at the end, but there's a collection, maybe 20 of them scattered there, and a couple jars of ink. These jars of ink are covered with frost, but they're right near the needles, and some of the needles are covered with ink of those different colors. A lot of black and a lot of red. Maybe there's some purple in there as well. So right above that, you can see set into the wall are a number of what I'll call glyphs. If you imagine they're sort of like kanji, if you imagine like characters that are quite complicated, so like a Chinese kanji would have a lot of different sort of Japanese kanji, a lot of strokes in it. It's like that, but they're all very kind of hooky, sort of sharp looking strokes, sort of like a Gothic script, but they're all symbols that you might not recognize. Later on, you might do a roll to recognize them. You realize that that they are in a line, like a line of say 20 of them above where these needles and ink are. You see set into almost like glued or fixed the table is this sort of pot, like a jar. It's got a lid fixed on it. It looks like it could hold some sort of liquid or some sort of food. It's about that big with a lid on it over on the side. Next to it is a thick.
That's on the bench also.
It's on the bench as well. Next to that is a thick brush. The brush itself is sort of like you just have shaving cream. So you can like apply shaving cream with, sort of like a short-handled short brush. It's got a very dark, sticky-looking, sort of gloppy substance kind of frozen onto it. Like the brush is coated with a kind of very thick or frozen liquid. There's a pile of notes, a pile of papers that have all kinds of writing on it, also on this bench. These are all things that I'm going to mention one-off because in this coming section, you're going to maybe remember some of these details because you'll want to search and try them all out. These are all things that you can just remember them, or if you're writing them down, sort of objects in the room. The last thing, of course, I'll mention is the door. So on one side of the room, on the west side is an iron door wrapped in iron chains. You see in upper corners of the room, in the opposite corners of the room, is a red mirror. You're focusing down so much it took you a while to look up. Like,
That's in the west corner, is it? So
they're sort of in opposite corners, like say the northeast and southwest corners,
Okay,
for example. Like they're there. These mirrors are set with these iron brackets. The iron brackets sort of dug into the brick, and so the iron brackets are holding onto the mirror. It's like an oval mirror about this big. It's a red mirror, and that's reflective like a mirror is, but it's like got red glass. You can see your own reflections in this mirror, but there's something kind of strange and shadowy about the reflection that you see, and this is maybe a little bit of an unsettling feeling. They're both kind of tilted down a little bit, and they're up near the ceiling. Each of those has a few hook chains hanging from the bottom of the mirror itself, so the rim of the mirror has got that sort of hanging down. These are all things that are of interest to you, and I would love to say that you have time to experience them at your leisure, but as you look there and this trap door slammed, and you're just figuring this out, the chains slowly start to move. They start to move a bit like snakes, and they're starting to slide across the floor, and over the next 30 seconds or so, they're starting to move faster, to the point where you're having a little hard time sort of stepping away from them. And that is what brings us to our next part. So this is the next slide, please, for those of you at home. Escape room in the red dungeon. So this is, you need to get out of this room, and these chains, if they keep speeding up, are going to be the reason why you want to get out of here, because they are sharp and they're going to move around. You already know they have the potential to hurt you. So I'm going to make a little note here, first of all. Okay.
The ability to read the.
I've got a few languages.
All right. So it's clear that there is a way out. This can't be the end of the dungeon. There is an iron door, and that's the only exit. The trap door going up there, the solidity with which it closed, the click that it made, and the triumphant tone in Torg's voice gives the idea the goal is not to get up and out of this room. You've got to get out through that iron door, but it is closed tight. It doesn't even seem to have a keyhole of any sort, and it's wrapped with iron chains. But you're guessing that that is the way out. The red mirrors I've described, that they're sort of in view no matter where you are in the room. It seems like you can see somebody's reflection in a red mirror.
Those mirrors.
Yeah.
Are they actually? I know they're on opposite corners, but are they actually facing each other, those mirrors, or are they just...
Not quite, yeah. So, if you've shown a light, the light wouldn't bounce back and forth between them. They're both tilted down a little bit.
Right, gotcha.
Okay. So, yes, after you've entered, the chains are starting to slither. They will start randomly cutting people. Some of you will be able to help out others, while some of you will be able to figure out the puzzle, and some of you will be able to, I just want to protect people from the chains, or start like hitting the chains, try and knock them away. So we'll divide you into two groups. People who kind of like puzzles, so I'll call you the puzzler types, and people who say like, I just want some action, or I'll absorb some hits, like I'm able to take some damage. But don't worry about your class roles. If you're a fighter, you don't have to be tanking the chains. You can be one of the ones that's trying to solve this puzzle. If you like puzzles, join in. But some of you will want to protect the people who are solving the puzzle. Like I say, there is a way out. It's obviously that iron door. And the first step that you're going to do, as the chains are starting to accelerate, is maybe spread throughout the room, and anything that I mentioned, say, I'm going to take a closer look at thing X. So every feature that I mentioned is something you can kind of get a little bit more information on, and I will just find out from each of you. Each of you gets to check out one thing. So, who wants to check out one thing first?
Who wants to read the notes? Apparently, there's paper with notes.
You want to say you're going to be notes?
Yeah, I'll do it. But I've got an idea for those glyphs.
Okay, hang on. No, we can only pick one thing. We're going to look at the notes or the glyphs.
Okay.
What do you want to do?
I'll take the notes. I'll read the
You
notes.
want to do this? Okay,
Yeah.
great. All right, I'm going to write all this down as we go. So, yeah, you take a look at the notes. And yeah, as you do it, so it looks like the notes have been written with a kind of a journal, a lot of time, like timestamps and things and dates. And they, at a quick look, because you only have a few seconds you're looking at it, it seems to mention like a record of names, times they're brought here to this room, and something about initiation. So names and the word initiation and initiator. Who's got another thing they want to check out?
I'll go for the mirrors.
Okay, the mirrors, yeah. All right.
Or one of them, I guess.
Yeah, and also you can sort of do things in pairs. But after we fill that up, so mirrors. Yep, the mirrors. As you look in the mirror, you see a reflection of yourself. But what is you seem like a miserable version of yourself. Like you look like someone who's had a really hard time lately. You've got a very tired, haunted look in your own eyes. You're seeing yourself sort of an alternate version of yourself. Otherwise, it seems to reflect everything else in the room normally. Who's got another thing they want to check out?
I'm gonna check out and look at the chains and see if there's any design or pattern in the way they move.
Okay, yeah, so chains as they move, right. So, yeah, you're sort of, as they slither, you can see that they are covered with hooks and barbs, and they seem to be moving in maybe a predictable pattern, but they're getting faster, so it's going to be harder to stay ahead of it. All right, let's name another thing.
I'll look at those glyphs.
Okay, great. As you look at the glyphs, they're the glyphs over the table, you notice that the way the light is shining on them, they're indented a little bit. Like you could brush your hand over them, you can actually feel them and not just see them, and they've got sort of dark ink in them. So I'm just going to mention sort of one thing as you go, but yeah, that is an interesting thing. Who else has got something else they want to do?
Just before you go,
Yep.
how many coloured inks did you say were in those pots?
3 different colors of inks, yeah.
Three.
But yeah, the glyphs are all colored black. Who's got another thing they want to check out?
I'm going to go to the painting and observe the serene looks on the faces of the
Yeah,
humans.
that's right. Okay, yeah. So you take a look at the painting itself. Do you want to just sort of observe the faces very carefully? Yeah, just sort of look at there. Yeah. I guess you can get deeper when things like insight, because you sort of read expressions. But there's a slightly sort of glazed expression on these people's faces. If you had to describe it, it looks like they look a little bit dopey. They look happy, but they look a little bit dopey. There's something kind of vapid about the looks on their faces. That's the people who are the living tables. Who's going to check out something else? Everybody only checks out one thing. We'll go all the way around.
I'll go and check out the needles.
Okay, yep, that's
and
right.
The jars of ink. Or-
Yeah, sure. That's right. Yeah. So we'll look at the needles themselves. The needles themselves, yeah. If you pick one up, you can see that it leaves a little mark behind, like it's a little bit wet, like the ink on it is wet. You also notice there's like a drop of blood at the very end of the needle. So it's ink, but it's also a little bit bloody at the end of it.
So ink and blood mixed.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Who hasn't mentioned a thing that they're going to check out? The jar. Yeah, so you might pop open that jar. Inside the jar is a thick black substance. Seems to match what's on the brush itself. It's sort of like a tar. Like, as you sort of tap it, it doesn't sort of wobble like water. It's steady, but it also doesn't look entirely solid. It's got a little bit of frost on it. It might be cold. So the jar itself, yeah, a sticky substance that matches the brush. Who else hasn't mentioned something?
The brush.
Yeah, the brush itself, yeah. So the brush itself is cold and stiff. It has that substance that I mentioned on it, but also you see that stuck to it is a long, human/elven, hair is stuck to it. Anybody else not check something out?
Can you reach the chains that are attached in there?
Yeah, you can touch the chains gently, or you can like hit the chains or something like that.
The chains
got
are attached
raided.
there.
Say hello to a bunch of new viewers.
Hello, everybody. We're playing D&D. If we're learning D&D for absolute beginners. Thank you for coming. What are you gonna do?
If you can, these are the chains attached to the mirrors.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tug on one. I want to see if anything happens.
Okay, so as you tug on one, you like with an intent to pull it off, it lashes out at you. What is your AC?
12, yeah.
12. Okay, yes, I was just about to write something down because it's what's called a whammy. These secret things I've written down, but you've done it early. That the chains seem to be very defensive. You take 2 points of damage.
I was going to
Whack like that as soon as you pull on the chain. Yep, it does not like that.
Do they
Everybody's.
look like as though they're gonna move, or is it like
It moved on.
pulling them
These
off?
these chains moved on their own.
Okay.
Everybody has interacted with one thing. So this is where you're going to sort of figure out the next clue. Let me get a sec here. Yeah. Who was it that looked at the painting? Okay. I'd say as you're sort of looking at the painting itself, you can tell that the surface of the painting is a little uneven. Where the bricks are all extremely even and neat, but looking at it, it's like the mosaic is set and the bricks seem to be at slightly different depths. So I imagine you can't help but sort of like you touch and push at it, and the bricks seem like a little bit loose, and also it's like it's sort of like that wall feels a bit warm. You knock on the bricks, and there's a slightly hollow sound. There's something hollow behind the bricks. As you go around, it's where the fireplace is. That's the most hollow. You sort of like tap around, and where there's a painting of a fireplace is the most sort of hollow sounding, and that's the place where the wall is not quite so cold on the other side of that fireplace. All right.
Is this an actual fireplace, or?
No. So this is a picture of a fireplace. It's a
really
mosaic.
Big painting.
It's a big painting, but it's almost like a life-size painting, and a life-size.
Like this big, and I was
No,
like,
no,
wow.
it's a life-size painting. It's like a life-size fireplace. Everybody's just stop for a second. Let me go through here.
Matt, this is pre-made, isn't it? Or is it your own?
This is all my own stuff.
This is
Yeah, I
your
borrow a
own
lot
idea.
from other things, but yeah, this is my own module that I do. Okay, so as I said, we're going to be splitting up into defenders and puzzlers. So as you do, now you have an idea that there is some sort of secret pass or some sort of hollow behind this fireplace. It's the most interesting thing you've found so far, and you're guessing there might be a way to open up or manipulate that thing, because that might be the key to getting out through the iron door. Each of you decide, so raise your hand if you think you are going to be a puzzler, that you're going to be solving the puzzle. You want to sort of split roughly in half. You want to have maybe half puzzlers and half defenders.
That's about half.
Okay,
5 and
great.
4.
That's good.
Okay, so sometimes I'll say puzzlers, and I'll go around the room, then I'll say defenders. So remember, you're a puzzler or a defender. This just mechanically is just a way to sort of do an escape room where you have sort of a mix of action and things to do. All right. So as a puzzler, the first thing you want to do is find some detail about the room that you think that could be used that might have something to do to make that if the goal is to get behind the fireplace or do something with the fireplace, there might be something else in the room that causes that to happen. You think just pushing on the bricks themselves doesn't seem to work. There might be something else in the room that matches, that gives you that you can operate to make this part of the fireplace open up. So each of you, as you go, I'm going to ask you, actually, no, we'll do the puzzlers. It's fine. We have a small number of puzzlers. All right. And you can say what you think you're going to do with this object, or just name an object that you think has to do with a way out. And then I will ask you to do a roll, because that's the skill that you use to figure out that thing. So puzzlers first. Who's the first puzzler clockwise?
That's me.
All right.
I'm kind of tempted. The needle had blood on it.
Yeah.
So maybe I go and poke one of the people in the painting.
Okay, great. Actually, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I thought you were going to stab
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Is there a particular place at which you would poke them? Like, are trying to poke them with a certain effect or in a certain place?
No, I just want to see what it does, really.
Yeah, just to see what the reaction. Okay, that's great. I'd say this is, it's almost like a medicine check. So if you roll for wisdom or medicine, if you've got medicine. So wisdom.
Yep. 6.
Okay, with 6. Yeah, the better you roll, the better your chance of discovering things. Oh, what is your character's name? I'll be memorizing that.
Del.
Okay, great. All right, so Del is trying that with the needle with the blood on it. Who's the next puzzler clockwise?
Yes, myself.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I would like to see, because I know the lantern. This sounds right? The lantern, like the torch, make the chains move, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they moved away from it.
Yeah. So I want to see with my lantern, if I'm shining the lantern up towards the mirror. I'm not sure how tall this is, like if I'm anywhere near it.
Yeah.
But if I'm like pushing it as high as I can, lifting up the lantern.
All right.
On my tippy toes.
Yeah, try to shine it in. Yeah, you have maybe
does
a beam
that
and
do
sort of
anything?
brighten it up. Okay, that's great. Actually, what I should be doing is rolling on your behalf because these are secret rolls. What is your bonus for medicine? And I'll roll it for you.
+1.
Okay, great. Great. So yeah, what is your? So as you're doing that, let's see. I'd say perception. Like you might want to sort of notice that. What's a skill you think that would apply here? You're trying to see what reaction, maybe the way the light bounces through the mirror. So this might be a perception check, which is wisdom. So it'd be you could use your wisdom on your d20. So we'll see how well you do that.
Uh, 17.
Okay, sorry. So just tell me your bonus, and I roll for you because I don't want you to know how well you've done. What's the bonus that you added to that thing? What's your dexterity?
0.
Or your
like
perception, your wisdom bonus.
My wisdom bonus is 0.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe you were successful. You're trying to. So these are all happening at the same time while you're doing the poking. You're doing the shining. Who's the next puzzler?
Me.
Okay.
So I'm going to pull out the crowbar from my bag and try and pry a brick off.
Okay. Great. Near where the
like
fireplace
it,
is.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, off fireplace. I'd say this is a strength check, right? You want to. Strength is probably one of your strong suits anyway, and you've got the crowbar in there, and just see if you can do anything with that. Go ahead and tell me your bonus, and I will roll for you.
+2.
Okay, +2 you said?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Next puzzler, Align? Yep, yeah.
So I think I'll dip the brush into the jar,
Yeah.
and then maybe trace over the rune. What were they?
Glyphs.
The glyphs.
Oh, and trace the glyphs. Okay, very good. And that's a good one. What skill do you think applies here? What attribute do you think is most useful? Maybe a bit of dexterity because you want to sort of very carefully. You figure if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. Yeah. Good. So,
that's
go
a
ahead.
+3.
+3. All right. Okay. So now I've secretly gotten all of your scores, and whichever, depending on what you rolled and what your ideas were, you may still be. Oh, sorry. I just thought we missed out. One more puzzle. Great.
I want to copy the glyphs and then put them in the mirror.
Okay. Great.
Like
Yep.
put them on the mirror, or
No,
like
just
or like hold it
look
up
at them through the mirror.
Okay.
Great. Okay. Very good. And as you do that, that would be perception as well. So what is your wisdom bonus or perception bonus?
Perception is +4.
Okay. Great. Okay. Awesome. Well, I'll sort of reveal a bit here before those of you who are defending will have to defend the puzzlers. Okay. So let's start with you first, actually. So you copy down one of the glyphs, and you hold it up to the mirror. And you hear a voice come from the mirror as if you've been watched this whole time. You hear a voice that says, "It will not be very good security if a glyph on the wall opened the door. The Abanfuls would want you to train for years to earn that glyph." So a voice, showing a glyph to the mirror seems to have gotten a reaction, but you've copied one of the
Not what I
glyphs
want.
on the wall.
Yeah.
So it's like he's basically saying that's too easy. That glyph is not the one that you show. And Torg, the ghost, he pokes his head. He sort of phases his head down, sort of like down through the trap doors as he's been looking at you, and he says, "Eberk was trained to do that. If he were here, he could open the door." And disappears. So Torg says that, cries, talks about Eberk was trained to do that, referring to something about the glyphs. All right, now I'm going to decide, or I'm going to figure out which one of you has figured out the clue. Let me just read my notes here. Yeah. Okay, great. All right, who dipped the brush into the jar and traced the glyphs? Okay, so you get a nice reaction. First of all, you had to heat this up a little bit. Like it's so hot that you'd have to at least breathe on it or use like a tinder or like a torch. Do you have a torch that you could fire up? So you realize
tinderbox.
Yeah. So your roll was good enough. It means you're also smart enough to realize, you sort of hold it there, and a little bit of it kind of gets soft, and you can dip the brush there. And you very carefully trace one of the indented glyphs onto there. And who was by the fireplace? Who's the last one who checked out the fireplace?
You're crowbarring it, aren't you?
With the crowbar, okay. You're like, and they go ding. There's like this glyph lights up. It's the same glyph that you've pointed, and you realize that in the bricks around the fireplace, these same glyphs are also indented, but they didn't have ink on them, so they weren't really visible until they sort of lit up. And of course, you think you've taken credit for, like, I did it, like I've actually pried the right brick. But you let go and nothing happens. Eventually, though, so one is done. You say, well, let me try that again, right? You paint a second glyph. You start to paint the second glyph. But once you do the second glyph, the first one and the second one, the first one vanishes. It's like, you realize like maybe some glyphs, different glyphs in different orders. There's 20 of them. So it's almost like a combination. Okay, so now you know that's something to do with the glyphs. But meanwhile, if you're defending, the chains are starting to whip themselves around. And I'm going to do that part here. Okay.
Was there any effect on the other puzzles?
Not of all kinds of things are interesting in this room, but I'm kind of trying to keep it moving. But yeah, that's the most interesting thing that happened as you went. So you think there's something about that around the fireplace. There are some dangers to absorb in this room. Who is the first one that is a defender? Okay. Yep. So let's just do these as, say, saving throws, all right? So you are going to do a dexterity saving throw. So you can choose to defend or not. So are you going to try to take on the chain and try to like get in the way? Because as these people are doing things, you don't want the chains to hit them. It'll distract them, it'll hurt them. You want to be able to try to protect yourself. You want to provoke the chain. Hopefully you won't take any damage, but you're the one that's going to distract one of the chains.
Oh, what are you?
I'm a wizard.
What you want to shield?
Yeah. This one basically you realize it's sort of like getting the chain to come at you, and sort of jumping at the last second. So roll a dexterity saving throw to see if you can manage that.
21.
Okay, 21. Good. So you managed to jump over the chain. There's enough chains to endanger the puzzlers quite a few times. So if all of the defenders take 2 hits, they might be able to completely protect the puzzlers. If you defenders decide, I'm not going to take the damage, the puzzlers are going to have a harder time. You're going to try to dodge another chain? Or leave it as, okay, not going to take any chances. Who's the next defender?
That'd be me.
All right. Yep, so do you want to defend from a chain?
I do indeed.
Okay, roll.
19 plus my dexterity, was it?
Yeah.
21.
Okay, with a 21, yes. So you managed to provoke a
22,
chain and jump over it. You take no damage because you jump for. You can do that to a second chain and distract a second.
I'll
All
do it
right.
a second time.
You're brave enough to distract a second chain. Go ahead.
Hang on. 16.
16. Again, you are able to really dance around these chains, and you puzzlers who are figuring these things out are spared that chain's wrath. Who's the next defender? All right.
Can I, instead of defending against the first chain, cast Bless on all the defenders?
Sure. Very good. Excellent.
Help us protect the people that are trying
Good.
to
Spend that bless. Yeah. That means that all of you who are defenders will just go ahead and spread around. So usually pick 3 or 4 people, but let's just say that that you'll help. We have enough that I won't make you choose. Yeah, it is 4 people exactly. So yeah.
4. So yeah.
Okay, great, fantastic.
Myself and the other defender.
Okay, very good.
What does that give you a bonus to your dexterity?
Yeah, so every time that you roll a saving throw, you get to roll an extra D4. Do you have a D4?
I do.
So just roll that for them as they go, and we'll apply that same bonus to everybody, just to keep this fast. So roll your D4 bless right now. I'm simplifying this for those of you walking home, just because we have so many people. No, just the cleric.
It's 2.
2. So all of you now, from this point on, if you're doing a saving throw, you get a +2 on top of your regular saving throw because of the bless.
That's
You're
just
constant.
the defenders, isn't it?
Yeah, that's for the defenders. Yeah, okay, Colin.
And then I'll take 1 chain on.
Okay,
I've got
great.
a shield as well. So
Okay,
I'll try
great.
to get in the way of something.
Yeah, mostly it's just being fast on your feet. So I'm afraid this is going to be purely dexterity saving throw.
That's a natural 19.
Okay, good. Yes, you managed to take on one of the chains. Right, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 chains have been taken care of. Who's the next defender? All right, go ahead.
So I got a 19.
A 19. You all are doing so well. Yeah. So another chain comes towards you. You just have 5 chains, and it's 5 out of basically the 10 that could threaten people have been distracted. You can take on a second chain if you wish.
Yep, second chain.
All right.
Oh, I got a 1.
Oh, 1. Okay, so
No.
that chain hits you. You take 2 points. You take 3 points of damage.
Oh.
You take 3 points of damage from the chain. But you've distracted it anyway, so that's good. That's a hit that nobody else has to take. So 6 chains have been taken care of. Who's the next defender?
We're all puzzlers.
Okay, great.
Chains for that.
6 chains have been taken care of. That means there's 4 chains to hit. I'm going to start rewinding backward because I usually do sort of initiative on a smaller group. I'm doing a rough version of initiative here. I'm going to roll backwards and pretend that you're the ones that have the worst initiative. So who is a puzzler? Who's the first puzzler over here? You, I'm afraid, are going to, well, maybe I'll randomize it, but this time I'm going to go this way. So you have to take on some of the chains. There's 4 chains to dodge. Now you have to do a dexterity saving throw. So as you're doing your thing, you have to dodge a chain.
10 plus, is that an acrobatics check?
Nope, it's just dexterity. So it's your dexterity
four.
saving,
So
your dexterity
14.
saving throws. Remember your saving throws. There's a little box up in the corner.
6.
Oh, great, fantastic. So you rolled a what? 10 plus 6.
16.
Yep, and you've also got the bless. So you're adding the +2 for the bless.
18.
Yeah, great, 18. So helped by the bless, you are able to take care of that. So with the 4 chains left, there's only 3 left, and it does not damage you. Let's just go next to the next puzzler. Okay.
Okay. 19.
Oh, 19. You all are doing great.
That's
Okay.
a way to die, son.
2 chains left. Who's the
Yes.
next puzzler? It's you.
Oh, you did all right.
Plus.
Plus your
minus
dexterity.
1, so it's 11.
But then
Plus your 2,
Plus
13.
Oh,
13.
This is very close. So 11, you would have gotten hit.
oh, right.
But at the last second, you just sort of like this Ogma, right? You're praying to Ogma. You feel like a divine presence, you know. And it's a knowledge god, I believe. Because you decided you're going to
Well,
start
at
with.
the moment
It's a
I was-
nature god. That's right. Okay. Oh, drunken master, right? Yeah. You sort of stagger all of a sudden, like you sort of feel sort of drunk all of a sudden. You sort of stagger, but that's exactly where you need to step to get over the chain. So the blessing of drunkenness saved you. Okay, that's 1 chain left. Who's the next puzzler? That'd be you.
I got 13 plus, so 18.
Okay, good. So, very little damage done, and good job by those who defended. So, you puzzlers are all able to move on to the next phase. All right. So, those of you who are defenders, yeah, think about how much damage do you want to take on, because you're sparing the puzzlers, as you can see. If you, as a puzzler, took damage of any sort, you have disadvantage on the following roll. So, not only have you suffered some damage, but on this following roll, you have to. Don't roll yet, but you roll with disadvantage.
Nobody got hit. Oh, that's good.
Oh, nobody got hit? No, I said, yeah, somebody
I
took some.
got hit.
Yeah.
Oh, you got
Yeah,
hit.
you only got hit.
Okay.
I was sore foot
What
for
about
my
from the
first
chain
one.
on the mirror?
What?
Did anyone get hit from the chain on the mirror?
Does that
Or is it-
Yes, but are you puzzler or defender?
Defender.
Yeah, it's a defender, yeah, but that would count otherwise. Okay. Now, those of you who are puzzlers, you realize now it's a matter of figuring out which glyphs to fill in. It's sort of like a combination lock. And once you get one wrong, then all the things stop lighting. You realize you can do quite quickly. You tried to paint who's painting which one, yeah.
All the
So
odds.
you can continue to paint. So it might be your job. So your role is just doing it as accurately as possible and quickly. You realize that you just basically have to just trace its major lines with the brush in order to do it. You don't have to fill it in as carefully as you did last time, so you do rapidly. But the rest of you are puzzlers. You need to figure out which glyphs are the right ones to put in. So you think that some of these glyphs, advance towards the goal and they'll light up more of these things, which you think surely that's good. To light things up on a wall is always good in an escape room. But the wrong glyphs will make it shut down. So I'll ask each of you who are puzzlers, what idea do you think would make you pick one glyph over the others? Who's got an idea of you
Okay.
puzzlers?
So I'm gonna write all the odd ones down.
Okay, all the odd, like every odd one. Okay,
And
great.
put that in the mirror as well.
Oh, I see. So you're going to show that
Because
to the
he's
mirror
saying
itself.
one didn't work, one will never work,
Okay, great. Yep. So, yeah. So show glyph to the mirror. Okay.
but all the odd ones.
Yeah, all the odd ones. The odd
Yep.
ones. Okay. Who else is a puzzler that has an idea?
I try and look at which ones are all facing towards, wait, are they on the wall? Which
Yeah.
which wall are they on? And where's the door again?
They're on the
Yeah. So the fireplace.
Yeah.
Is on the south side. The bench with the glyphs is on the east
on the
side.
east.
Yeah. So yeah, they are. You can say they're sort of facing one way or the other.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea. So yeah, you can say. The letters are glyphs, so it's hard to say which is the right side or left side. But you might sort of look like you think maybe some of them might be sort of pointing, and which way would you want to be pointing? Let's
Yeah.
say.
So if they look like they're pointing towards the door,
Yeah.
I try and focus on those ones.
Yeah. Okay. Great. All right. Focusing towards the door, towards the iron door.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was
Great.
in the notes? Who looked at the notes?
Yeah, me. There was nothing. It was just
dates and diary entries?
Who else is a
names,
puzzler?
dates.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, you can use the notes as an idea for that. Yeah. Who else is a puzzler?
That's me.
Okay.
I'm going to check out the patterns on
Yeah.
the glyphs. See
Okay.
if there's any symmetry
Yeah.
or asymmetry.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Asymmetry, yeah. Good. All right. Who else is a puzzler?
It's me.
All right.
So I have knowledge of a few languages.
Yeah.
Is there anything in the glyphs that I recognize
yeah, sure.
from any of the languages that I know?
Okay, very good. All right. Is that all the puzzlers? And you're actually painting them in.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Let me
You're the
figure out the.
artist.
All right. Now I will reveal the next step in just a minute.
I'm Picasso, leave me alone.
Don't get in the way of my creative
Okay. All right. So, you are showing glyphs to the mirror, and that same voice says, I already told you, any of the glyph that needs to be shown to this mirror is not going to be on the wall. How poor do you think our security is? So, you try a few of those, and that does not succeed. Those of you who are, who did the language knowledge one? It turns out your idea is because you all try your different theories, and each of the rest of you is like it sort of it comes and goes, and you're picking the wrong ones. But then you remember that this glyph is based on a language that's used by the Abanfils. There's an old family called the Abanfils, A-B-A-N-F-Y-L. And the Abanfil family developed a kind of a code, a language, and a series of glyphs that only they know. And that is something that you recall with your language, because I've ruled on your behalf. And
took the right book in the library, didn't you? Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Many decades studying, so I love it.
Okay, so on the last round, you'll be basically trying to share the knowledge with the rest of the puzzlers, and all of you puzzlers are going to use this particular skill. So you're going to use history skill, right? You're going to be quickly describing things. So you get to use your history, which is intelligence. It's based on intelligence. And history, if you've got it. Depending on how well you roll on history, remember some of you have disadvantage, you're going to score points. So those of you, including you, but not use the painter. You go and roll as the painter. Roll with dexterity for you. The rest of you roll history check. See how well you can figure this out.
Oh, natural 20.
Woo! All right.
Yeah,
Plus
9. 3.
Okay, great. So I'll go around. Yeah. So natural 20 plus 3. All right.
Yeah.
What is your character name?
Melbourne.
Yeah.
6.
Does he
Okay,
have an
natural
advantage
20.
now?
Yes, so on this, you actually have experience with this. Once you recognize this Abanfil, you realize, oh, now I remember this stuff. So you are very good at knowing the history of the Abanfil glyphs. You've got a natural advantage on that. So write down
Nice.
permanent advantage on Abanfil glyphs. So you score several points there. Let me get there. All right. So you've scored 3 victory points towards it where you're able to get more than lit up, and this is just general progress. Who is another puzzler?
My dexterity roll
dexterity,
was
yep.
19.
Okay, 19. Again, you didn't have disadvantage. You got a very good roll. Okay, good. Yes, you success. That's another couple points of success. So now you're at 5 points of success. Very good.
I got 18 plus 2.
Even with disadvantage, did you roll twice and take the lower of the 2 because were you the one damaged?
No, yeah, I was, but I
Yes.
didn't get this. I didn't do the second roll.
Yeah, you have to do the second roll. So that would be your good roll, but because the chains hit you.
Oh, I got a 7.
That's the way disadvantage works.
Okay, so I got 9.
Okay, that's fine. So you only advance 1 point out of that, 1 victory point. Who is the next puzzler who just rolled?
14.
A 14? Okay, that advances you 1 point. This is pretty tough to get this right. So yeah, we got that. But where the points are ramping up, this might be enough to solve it, or you might all take another round of damage. Who else?
I got a 6, but it suits my character because he's only young.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you try to remember, you
It's
try
like
to follow
history,
these
he's like, I don't need
instructions.
to know that.
Oh, stuff, no, you're not able to advance it very much. Who's the next one? You.
21.
21, okay,
Nice.
great.
Nice.
That is great. So you get another few points on that. Who's the last one? Anybody else? Yeah, the defenders, okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm a defender, sorry. I'm not a puzzler, so I
Oh, okay.
shouldn't have,
Okay, well, let's say you switched over.
More puzzles.
Let's say you switched. I'll subtract that one
puzzle at
out.
the same time.
Okay.
You duck and dodge and like,
Right.
otherwise try
Yeah,
that
that's
thing.
it. Exactly.
All right. So you will be the one that you'll put in the last glyph that'll make it happen, but you didn't get quite enough points to spare 1 more round of damage. All right. So you defenders, again, are going to decide, I'm going to take on the damage myself, or I'm going to let the puzzlers get hit. But the puzzlers, because they're so distracted right now, the puzzlers will have disadvantage on their saving throws. If you're a defender, you're better off taking the hits rather than the puzzlers. Defender. Let's go around the other ways. Who's a defender over here? Defender, defender, defender. Okay. So you roll a dexterity saving throw to see if you can distract the chain, if you choose. No.
Oh,
that's
Natural
natural.
20.
Oh, very good. Yeah, and this is combat now, so you won't have you can't get permanent advantage on that. But that's fantastic. I'd say that you absorb one chain, you distract one chain really well. I'd say go ahead and if you take on a second chain, you can roll with advantage now. Roll twice and take the higher of the two.
Look at a 7
Okay, roll again.
and an 8.
An 8 to 7 and 8 with your dexterity bonus. What is all that? If you add your dexterity bonus and the bless.
And the bless.
3
Yeah.
plus
And-
3.
Is
11 plus 2 is 15.
Ah,
Oh,
good.
13.
That's you
13,
managed to. You
sorry.
don't take any damage after all. Okay, that's 2 chains being taken care of. Who else is a defender?
I'm the next defender.
Okay, next defender.
I've got a shield.
You can take on
so
1, 0, 1, or 2
Is
chains.
it dexterity?
Yep, still dexterity.
5. So
Okay, 5, even with
You
bless.
got your blessed as well.
7, down 1.
Okay.
Dexterity minus 1.
Oh yeah, not the most dexterous. You take 3 points of damage from the chains. And that's chain number 1, right? But you've taken on 3 chains.
Yeah, I've still got it.
Gonna do it again. All right, you're still gonna dodge it.
So 14.
14. Yes, that is good enough to get above the chain. That blessing definitely helped you on that one. Who is the next defender around here? That was 4, 5 taken care of. Yeah.
Okay, so wait, 4 out of 5 of the chains are taken care of?
Yeah, I think maybe 6 chains. How many chains did you take on?
I had 2.
Yeah, you had 2. Yeah, 2, 2, and 2. I must have lost track. 6 chains have been taken care of.
Okay, so 4 more.
No,
Okay,
that's-
oh.
That's,
Only
no,
4
that's
houses.
4.
Oh.
4?
2 and 2.
Okay.
Oh,
2 and 2.
more, there's 2 more.
Yeah, so
Okay, great. So yeah, there's 4 chains taken care of. First chain, try to dodge that one.
Okay, yep.
Try to distract the chains.
15
Ah,
plus
good.
13, so
Great.
18.
Very
plus
good.
minus
Okay, the 6 chains taken, 5 chains taken care of. You want to take on another one?
Yeah.
Okay, take on another one.
18 plus
18.
3, so 21 plus plus is 23.
Nice.
Oh, very nice.
Nice
Okay,
rolls.
very good. I'd say you do well enough that you've taken on 2 extra chains. There's 7 down. You can take on 1 or 2 more.
So there's only 2 left, right?
There's only 3 left now. 3 chains left. So one of the puzzlers is going to have to get it.
There's only 9 of us though.
That's all right. I've got a high dex.
Oh, that's true. There's only 9 of us. Yeah,
So like,
Yeah.
that's true. Oh well.
10 plus 2 plus 14.
14. Okay, you barely make it. Yeah, it hits your armor but does not penetrate.
I mean,
Gonna take on another chain. All right.
Brave wizard.
Yeah, that's
13 plus 2 plus 2 is 17.
Okay, 17. You
Yeah,
managed.
wow.
So raise your hand if you are a puzzler. One of you is going to have to do a because you're concentrating as you're doing all this stuff.
Can I be overconfident and take on a third?
Ah, yeah, I guess
I feel a
so.
little cocky. I've dodged every one.
Okay, all right. Do this with disadvantage though, because you're doing.
Prior performance is no
You're trying
predictor
to
of
you're trying to
future
fit this in. All right, great. So instead of you having disadvantage on the save, he's going to do the save with disadvantage.
Disadvantage. So that's 17 there.
17. Yeah, but you roll again. You got to take the lower of the 2.
6 plus 2 plus 2 is 10.
What's that say? No. Okay, you get whacked. You get whacked. You take on 2 points of damage.
But at least our
But-
investigators are at disadvantage.
That's all right. That's all right.
Points left. You're half
As
done.
that is all happening, you manage to direct the last ones. You paint the right glyph, and all of the glyphs are lit up. The bricks on the wall where the painted on fireplace is, all those bricks sort of slide out of the way, sort of like Harry Potter Diagon Alley style. They all sort of unfold and move away, and behind it is an actual fireplace. There's no fire in it. It's got a grill, like you could put logs on, and a bunch of ash. But a smell comes through, like it smells like something dead is in there, like sort of a gross, sort of burned, but also sort of fleshy smell. There doesn't seem to be anything else in the room or in there, but the chains are still moving, right? So the chains don't stop. You just revealed that, but you bought yourself a few seconds that defending. Does anybody who's a puzzler have an idea of what to do? You're looking at this fireplace.
In there. What is it we're going to burn?
Yeah, each of you can try to do something. Yeah,
I have
quick.
a torch.
Yep. Okay, so you've tried to put a torch in there. Yeah, you put a torch underneath. The smoke rises from the torch. You notice the chimney is blocked because the smoke rises. There's a chimney, obviously, that should go up, but it quickly starts roiling out of the fireplace. You've discovered the chimney is blocked. Who else is a puzzler that's free to do something?
Yeah,
Follow this.
Climb through to see if I can open the flue.
Yeah, okay, so you go up to see it. You reach and you feel 2 sort of hard objects. You have dark vision, do you?
Yep.
You are looking up at some skeletal charred feet.
Right.
Like these are and as you look past, you can see that wedged into the chimney is a body. The body seems to be charred. It's all like burned away, like the bone itself is dissolving. But up there, the body is a little bit more solid. but this is where the smell of death is
heave it
coming
down.
from. Okay. Yeah, I think maybe you sort of discover it. Somebody, but you get a little overwhelmed, and like you've sort of taken a second, like, oh, who's the strongest one?
I'll do that.
Yeah?
I'm a
Okay.
strong puzzler. I'll
Okay.
try to pull it down.
All right, so do a strength check to pull that down.
Is that 9 plus
Yep.
2?
Yep, according to the blessing is well, no, the blessing doesn't count here, but that's fine. It turns out it's quite easy. This thing, the like bits of the body's the clothes are sort of sloughing off, and this thing collapses down in. So you sort of fall back. You see a body. It's obviously a dwarven body, you sort of tell by its stockiness, and it's got armor. You can see that little bits of the armor in the upper part, was not so charred, have got some like red epaulets and stuff. It's a different armor than Torg. Speaking of Torg, you hear, Eberk! Eberk! Is that you? You see that Torg has poked his head down, has been watching this, and he's calling this body Eberk. As you pull the body down, you see the hands are still intact, so the arm sort of flops over. You see on the back of one of the hands is a glyph. It's tattooed on. As you might have guessed, these tattoo needles are used to tattoo glyphs onto people. You realize this but it doesn't match any of the glyphs on the wall. Anybody, any puzzler who hasn't gone yet, have an idea of what to do with that hand? What do you do?
Okay, so we need to display that glyph to the mirror.
Ah, right. How do you do it? You sort of like pull it. Luckily, the hand comes right off in your hand. It pops right off. You go over and you show that glyph to the mirror. The chains on the iron door slink open. The chains in the room settle down, and that door is now easily opened. You have gotten the escape room to stop killing you. Congratulations.
I knew it had something to do with the mirrors. I just couldn't work out what it was.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I thought they have to like face each other or something like
Yeah,
that.
or like a
So
line.
they
That's
used
what
to
I was
like
wondering.
them moving.
I was
but
going to
then-
ask if the mirrors could.
Have to
Yeah.
But then
could
you touched them, and I was
move.
like, oh no, never mind.
That's why I touched the chains.
All
I'm like,
right.
can we move the chains? Doesn't move the mirror.
You're all going to get some experience because you don't have to have combat. If you figure things out, you do get some experience, and I'm going to do that. So, so normally you would get experience, but because you're level 1 and because the way with such a large thing, this is the kind of thing you normally would get experience for. I'm going to skip that part in initiative time. So yeah, but we'll cover experience later on. I'm teaching that stuff later. Very good. In the other hand, you see that the hand that has the glyph, as you sort of turn it over and you pull it away, the hand sort of loosens, and there's like clickety-clacketing sound. There are a number of those little black metal shards clutched in this hand. Who has a chaos shard listed on their inventory?
Yes.
These are the same kind of things that you had found. Yeah, chaos shards. There are a number of them that each of you who does not already have a chaos shard gets now a chaos shard. If you wish. You don't have to carry it around, but you have the idea that these things are rare and they just feel powerful. They all have that sort of funny things. You look at them, you can't really tell how far away they are. They're kind of sort of mind-bending. They have a sort of an unpleasant energy that emanates from them, but you think it's just in your pocket. Like you wouldn't want to swallow it necessarily, but you're not sensing any immediate danger. Okay. Hang on 1 second. Yeah, just maybe talk amongst yourselves and come up with ideas, but let me see what's next. All right.
I think I might go through the door again, because considering
Yeah.
I haven't done
Yeah,
much.
yeah. So what you're gonna do? Yeah, you want to go to the door? That's
I'm
fine.
definitely up for going through the door.
I want to pilfer whatever's good on this dead body.
I'm just gonna hold up
On
my
Eberk's
holy
body.
symbol, which smells weird
Yeah.
like alcohol.
We might be able to sell the armor.
Save your armor. Alright, let me do that.
Is anybody close to death? If I look around, is there anyone close to
Yeah,
death?
yeah. Go and help each
He's
other
half
out
down.
there.
He's half
Two
down.
sessions.
Okay.
got full
Hey,
hit points.
I think
Liam.
my character.
Could you do the slide called twist?
I've
Yes.
got 9. I'm
Okay.
a bit low, but I do have a second win, so.
Okay.
You're feeling a bit low, you're still a bit more than I had, and I haven't lost any.
I'm select 12.
Okay. So, who said they were going to open that door?
Yes, me.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah. So, the door itself is open. Actually, I was wrong about this. All happened quite quickly. The chains have unlocked from the door, but the chains are continuing to move in this room. So, if you want to actually escape the danger of the chains, you can still check out things in this room. You can still do things, but you would definitely be taking another hit, and the defenders won't be able to hit you. Or you can go through this door. The door is. Let's start with that. You open up the door. You see something quite surprising on the other side because you're in a dungeon underground and you're expecting to see a room or a corridor. you see a void and cold air is blowing in. This seems to be the source of why it's so cold. It's extremely cold on the other side of this door, and it blows in with all the sort of like whirling sort of ice crystals at you, like there's sort of a tempest of wind and ice blowing around. The brick that you're on extends out, but it's like a walkway. It's like only like less than 5 feet wide, and it goes as far as you can see because it gets kind of foggy. And it just seems like it's kind of hanging in space. Like you look down, it's like there's at least, whatever the extent of your dark vision is. If you can see 60 feet or with the torchlight, you can see that you can't see where the floor is. And it's heading in a straight line. You can see, 60 feet in every direction. You don't see a wall anywhere. This is a giant space. If it's still indoors, it's an absolutely gigantic room. And the way that things echo, you can hear sort of howls and screeching, and they sound very, very far away. Like you've entered an area that doesn't think that it should be underground at all. The only way forward to be safe from the chains is to get out onto this walkway and just have faith and head out into the void. But if this is the adventurous thing to do, I'd say this is the next logical thing. Otherwise, you're going to be taking damage from the chains. Group vote? Are you gonna go ahead?
I'm going out.
Oh, okay.
I've already opened the door.
Yeah, that's right. All right,
I'm
heading
just
out.
running down the pathway.
All right, great.
You see it.
So you have to be very careful going down this walkway. You have to sort of keep your center of balance low. The wind itself is not strong enough to like buffet you from side to side, but you're worried as you go, like if the wind picked up, you would have to start doing throws and things to stay on. You have very long vision. So is anybody else able to see larger than 60 feet in the dark? Like your dark vision goes 60 feet, but yours is special. It's a wow, 120 feet. You can see there is ground down there. First of all, this void extends more than 120 feet in every direction. As you walk down this walkway, again, you do not see a wall, but you do see a ground. The ground is a good 60 feet, like 60 to 70 feet below you when you start off. As you get closer, the ground sort of rises up, so pretty soon it's getting within like 30 feet as you get towards the end. That's that. Now you know that there's some sort of snowy land with rocks protruding, a lot of ice and rocks down there. Again, bitterly cold. But you're going to be able to proceed without having to do any rolls because you're heroes. You can handle this. As you get closer, and you're all in a single file, there is a dome of ice. It seems to be rising up out of the ground. You are able to describe it because you can see further than the others. This dome is sort of, it rises up almost like a boil or a bulge, sort of like pushing the ground up. But it's all completely round ice dome. The red brick walkway enters a little archway into that dome, so it seems like it goes into this hollow space inside that dome. And you can see that just at the edge of it, you can see like a little sort of dark structure inside that dome. But as it is, it seems like the best thing to do is to continue on, because if you just stand out here at a distance, you're going to be buffeted by these winds, and the wind is starting to pick up. So, if you don't mind, I'm going to sort of move things along, and what happens as you get into the dome. All right? Okay. As you're moving in, by the way, you heard those sort of screeches far off, and some of them seem to be getting louder as well. Another reason to hustle you in. Inside this ice dome, it's a bit like this. So here's the walkway that you're going in. The ice is quite thick, so it goes through a thick layer of ice. And in the middle, there is red, this whole surface is red brick. So like the red brick is here and then expands out, but it's got a lot of ice and frost blowing around on it, sort of swirling snow. There are a couple ravens sitting there. I always like to mention sort of like the most eye-catching thing. There's 2 ravens sitting on this red brick structure in the middle.
Statue or real raven?
They seem to be real. They're moving. There's a red mirror over here. So another red mirror is looking or pointing right towards all of you here. And I say looking because last time you showed it, somebody must be looking through this mirror, almost like it's some sort of like viewing portal. Yeah. So I'll say the red mirror is looking and taking in this whole thing. There are again chains in a pattern laying all over on this floor. Some of them are hanging from the mirror, but they are not moving, but they are there. This red brick structure is like about yay high. It's a square, 10-foot square, and from this angle, just like a shaft, like a well, like a square well or something that goes down.
And it's only a foot high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's only
at our level,
a couple feet high.
It's hollow in the middle.
Yeah, you can see it's hollow in the middle, but at this
hanging
distance.
again, sorry?
What?
What was hanging?
So there's chains lying around on the floor.
okay.
There's a bunch of icicle, like the dome inside the dome's got all these icicles hanging up there. And there's something strange about the pattern of the icicles. They have a very regular looking pattern, but the ravens catch your eye. The two ravens, they're standing there, and you realize they're moving like mirror image of each other. They both turn their head at the same thing, and they're looking at you, and they're ah, and they sort of flap and jump up and down like ah, ah, but they both do it at the same time, and they're sort of mirror images of each other. They sort of look at you with one eye and then the other. They hop together, and they sort of press their eyes together, so like their two inner eyes are sort of joined together, sort of pressing their heads against each other, and they have so like three eyes looking at each other, and goes ah, ah, again, both of the beaks at the same time, and it hops apart. It's the only thing of note in this room besides what might be in a possible way out. Does anybody have an idea of what they do next?
What's holding the mirror up?
It seems to be bracketed into the wall, so it seems like the brackets that would normally hold it on the brick is just fixed into the ice itself.
I want to take out some of my rations
Mm-hmm.
and try and see if I can lure the ravens over.
Okay, all right, yeah.
To try and
Right.
see if I can attract them.
Yeah. So let's say, we'll line you up a little bit later, but they both symmetrically sort of jump and start hopping toward, they take a hop and they sort of look at you, and they look at each other. Do animal handling, by the way. This is something where you're trying to lure. This is based on wisdom.
Yeah. That was a 1.
Yeah, you're like, I sort of wait. You notice who is trained in animal handling.
Yes.
Because you're observing this. Those of you who are trained in animal handling, now all of you roll animal handling.
8.
17
Yeah.
plus 3 is 20.
Okay.
I have
Pushes
a
me over the
10.
side. You
Okay. All right. So you recognize this first. You recognize sort of a mild version of the same thing. They are moving in a very un-raven-like way. Like they seem to be something that they're acting unnaturally. Like you've been in the natural world enough, and just the way they hop, the way they move their head is there's something quite strange about them. All right. But they start hopping close to you. Do you continue to sort of offer food?
Yeah. I'm going to keep
Okay.
persisting.
I'd say you're a little bit off center. So they are moving again perfectly symmetrically. So, but one of them moves towards you. I mean, the other one is like a little bit 5 feet away from you. So, in order for one to get close to you, the other one kind of has to get further away with this sort of weird symmetrical pattern they do. It comes up. It looks at you with its beak. It like looks at the food. It pecks forward, and you feel a terrible sting in the palm of your hand, and you feel poison start to fill your system. We will stop there for the break, but at that moment, you hear
Time to really work.
the flapping of many wings, and the wings that you hear all around you in this, most of them you can't see. Like you can. There's a dull red glow here, and you hear things flying around, but you cannot see things flying around. We'll start next time with you in this room. We'll be in initiative since you've been attacked, and you're going to be dealing with whatever these creatures are. So think about your tactics. Think that you're partway through a bit of a dungeon delve. You can know this shaft is going to continue down, so you know you're not at the bottom of the dungeon yet. So you decide how much are you going to try to use all of your spells and actions, or are you going to save any? Think about what might work against invisible creatures, perhaps, and and a lot of strange flying creatures. Think about that on the break. Come back in 5 minutes, okay? 5-minute break. All right. Again, in this half of the circle. Okay, we'll do one at a time here.
I didn't bring my
four.
token with me.
Sorry. Okay, great. Put that 4 on that shield and do the same thing. Place yourself anywhere in this half of the circle.
Yeah, that's why it's
Can
supposed
I
to
be
be
at the wall this side, spread out?
Yep. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, a bit further.
Just sort of have you go.
Yep, there.
If you're thinking of being out in the walkway, you have a chance. But if you're a candidate for being out in the walkway, you can be. But you'll have to roll a survival check to have kind of gotten there fast enough. Who else has got a player token you want to use? Otherwise, I'll just use the numbers as they
I
are.
mine at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apologise.
All right. So you number 1, put yourself anywhere in this half of the thing. Number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put yourself there. In this half over here, make it direct where it is.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move the map around. So yeah, you place yourself. Okay, I'll scoot this down here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're 6. So number 6, please. You've already got yourself there. Number 7, go and move yourself anywhere in that half of the circle. Number 8, move yourself anywhere in that half of the circle. And number 9, move yourself anywhere in that half of the circle as you go.
Give it a go.
Because you were sort of moving around, you're sort of checking things out, you're sort of wearing this, and you're sort of like, stepping over the chain, seeing if you can sort of see anything through the sort of half translucent ice, which is sort of, you've sort of moved around, you've decided to scatter, and that's where all that happens. Okay, great. And we'll get started. So you're there, that's good. Okay, great. All right. Welcome back, everyone. We are going to start off with an initiative roll. Again, normally everybody has their own initiative. We jump around the table, but with this many people, I find it's faster to do sort of a cheat version of initiative. So all of you roll a d20 and add your dexterity bonus as what you roll for initiative.
Oh my god.
All right. Find out amongst yourselves who's got the highest initiative and who's got the
22.
second highest.
I'm
I think I got the
22.
lowest.
22? 22? We tied.
Mine.
Anyone got higher than 22?
Okay, so we have two 22s. Okay, well, who are the two 22s?
Me and...
Okay, the two of you. Okay, both of you roll a d20 again. This has a tiebreaker.
21.
Yeah?
Yeah, 13.
13. So we'll start with you. You're the second highest, so we'll rotate towards you the fastest. So we'll start with you. You're at the top of the initiative. We'll go all the way around and end with you. And then it's the monster's turn at some point in there. However, as the monsters, because they seem to have been sort of ready for this, and it was very surprising, the thing that they did when they suddenly attacked like that, and the flapping of the wings, is kind of surprising you all. So I do, basically it's the equivalent of a surprise round, right? So, first of all, we'll resolve with you. So this is the thing that sort of triggered the whole thing, is the attack against you. I said I did that dramatically, you felt poison. There's a chance it'll miss, so it pecks at you, and maybe you smell poison, but we'll see if you actually feel poison because it is going to do a fair and square attack
I was
against
going
you.
to say I've got Dwarven Resilience as well.
Oh, good, okay.
Advantage on saving throws against poison.
As it pecks at you, it only gets a 9. So actually, it hits you. You see a smear of poison on the back of your gauntlet, and you know that its beak was sort of covered with poison, and that's very unraven-like. You don't need to know very much about animal handling. No, that's very unusual for that. Liam, could you go to the next slide? By the way, this is the combat slide. All right. So now we'll start going where everybody else is going to be attacked respectively. Each of you hears the fluttering of wings, and again, it gets so close that you're sure that it must be an invisible creature of some sort coming at you. But as they attack, they become visible at the last second. We're just going to go around the numbers during my turn. So, Brown 1, this one appears next to you. These are, this is you hear flapping of wings, but then it drops at your feet, and it is a spider. So it made a flapping sound, but when it bites at you, it is a spider. It is going to have advantage because it was invisible as it bites. So you just hear the flapping sort of stop, then you see this lunge at your feet, and a spider is biting at you. So I get to roll twice and take the higher of the two. I get a 12 against your AC.
I have 12.
Ah, so you are stung.
Ouch.
All right, let me figure this out here, though. Ooh, I didn't do that properly. Hang on. Okay, let's do that. Okay, hang on. Okay. All right. Good news, you take only 1 point of damage from the pinchers itself, but you feel poison in your system. You have to do a Constitution saving throw. Remember, your saving throws are there.
Let's see.
Yep.
22.
22. So you resist the effects of the poison.
So I just take 1 damage.
Yeah, so you just take the 1 damage from the peck. Number 2, you have got something that appears. So again, the same deal. This one is a rat. So you hear, again, the flapping of wings. Then the flapping stops. You hear something sort of hit the ground in front of you, and then there's motion to your feet. It is invisible when it attacks, so it has advantage as it attacks you with a bite from this rat.
Any chance it doesn't go through my shoes?
it tries to scurry up and bite your leg, but you shake it off, right? So you're fast enough that it doesn't succeed. You sort of kick it away, and it skitters across the ice. Yeah, that'll be on your turn. Yes, it is temporarily
That's the first plan.
temporarily visible.
Squish it.
Number 3. Da-da-da, where are you? All right, great. Okay, number 3. This thing, when it appears, doesn't look like any animal you've ever seen. It looks like this. Oh, come on. I hate when it's all zoomed in. Oh, well. It looks like this. So, Liam, you can show that picture of the imp at this point. It's got leathery, sort of bat-like wings. It's a tiny creature, so imagine it's about the size of a cat, or sort of the size of like a raven or a rat, or this is a big spider, by the way. The spider that you is a big sort of dinner plate-sized spider. Red skin, horns, and the whole deal. On your turn, you can say, instead of attacking, say, I'm going to try to identify this thing. If you roll high enough, you'll not only know its name, but you'll know something about it, about its defenses and its tendencies, so you can use your action to do that. These things, when they're when you see it in this form, and this matches with the animals are all furry, it's cold. It's like you can just see it's got icicles on it, and it's shivering. It's obviously and it's moving in a bit of a sluggish way. So as it is, this is number 3. It's attacking you. So it has a stinger on the back of its tail, and it is the one that's going. It doesn't seem to be necessarily faster or more dangerous, but it just seems to be a different shape. I'm going to roll twice because it's got advantage. It was invisible when it attacks. Invisibility gives you advantage. A 21, I'm afraid it does hit you. You are pierced for 1 point of damage, but you have to save against poison. So you have a Constitution saving throw to make, please.
Can I ask?
7.
You take 2 points of poison damage. Are you a dwarf, however?
I'm an elf.
Okay, so I couldn't tell by the color. Yeah.
Actually, on that 20 on my Constitution saving throw for the poison.
Unfortunately, in combat, we don't do anything special there. I wish I could, but I can't think of a good reason to do it. Okay. All right, we are going around. It will move a little bit faster here. So against number 4, this is going to be by you. This looks like a raven again. It is going to try to attack you. It attacks with advantage. Oh, with a 24. Yes, I believe that's going to hit you. You take 1 damage from the beak and do a Constitution saving throw.
Is Bless up still?
No, quite. Well, it's Blessed lasts 10 minutes. Yeah. No, navigating the walkway and getting ready. Let's say that Bless had to vanish. Well, no, I hustled you out of that room, didn't I?
We ran out pretty much straight away.
Yeah, Bless still counts. Okay. Now you have to pick specifically. Anybody can be blessed. So you can, according to you, how many people can you bless at once?
I believed it was 4.
Okay, so pick who has blessed.
Myself and the other 3 defenders.
Yes. Okay.
2, 3.
Yep, but yeah, so that's right. You chose that, and you can't change it now. All right, those of you who are blessed, I'm going to give you your own D4s. If you have a D4, let me know. Otherwise, I'll be looking for D4s.
I have one.
Okay. All right, who's blessed and needs a D4? Okay, can you share that one?
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great. Who else is blessed and needs a D4? Okay, you can borrow that? Okay, great. So remember, when you do a saving throw versus poison, then you get to add that. You get to roll that D4 and you add to it thanks to the bless. However, you are concentrating on bless. Every time you take damage, you have a chance of dropping the spell. So you've spent it. Remember, you've written that down. You already wrote down in the last room. Yep. So you've already spent that, and it's going to continue. Okay. Did I already attack you, though? Yes, I attacked you.
Yes, and I just took, was it like 24, so I took an 8 point of damage?
You took 1 point of beak damage, and you were about to do, did you do your saving throw for Constitution?
Yeah,
so then, and if the bless, did you bless yourself as well?
Yes.
Okay, so you get to roll the D4 with that bless.
Cool, and I have advantage on saving throws versus...
Very good, so he's read on his sheet that dwarves have advantage on saving throws. Again, roll twice and take the higher of the 2, and the bless can apply to either one.
So that was 20.
20, okay, good. You resist the effects of the poison. So you took the 1 damage from the peck, but not the extra damage from the poison itself.
So who's poisoned at the moment? Anybody?
4, 5.
Oh, so everybody's got parts of poison.
Was I supposed to take a
Oh,
point
no,
of
I'm
damage, by the way,
poisoned,
from
sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
if you got pecked, you took 1 point of damage.
She
I was
kicked
the
it
rat.
off.
Oh, the rat, yeah, that's
I
right.
kicked him off, or
Yep.
got hit?
Okay.
Did he bite me
No,
first?
no, I think you kicked it off.
Okay.
Yeah, so you did not take any
Because I
damage.
took damage, does that mean I've got to make a concentration.
That's correct. Yes, very good. Thank you for that. It's really good when people mention rules. It's always good to like kind of call yourself out because I have too many rules to keep track of. I can be a scatterbrain. We're trying to teach each other. It makes the story more fun when you think of these things. So it's to try not to get upset at each other when you mention things like, hey, I actually should be doing the saving throw, or you should be doing that saving throw.
Right. Nat 20.
Ooh, yes, okay.
I'm
So
still
it's a
got-
concentration check. It's another constitution save, just like with poison, but he's just trying to hold on to his spell. As soon as it happens, all of you will lose your blessed, unless you cast it again. Okay, that's number 5. Okay. All right. Number 1, you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is going after you. So you are being attacked by a spider. This one has advantage against you. It is going to get a 23, higher than your AC. You take 1 pinching damage and do a Constitution saving throw. But all these things are sort of shivering and sort of slow and weak. If you ever discover what these things actually are, you'll see these are weaker versions of, there's something wrong with them. Like if you ever encounter these things, I'll tell you as a DM that if you encounter these things when they're not freezing cold, they're even more dangerous than they are right now. There's something that about the cold has weakened them.
I got a 16.
A 16, that is enough. So you do not take any poison damage. All right. Now we'll go around to you. So you have got this thing. It has already done its thing. It is going to do something different because it's already attacked you. Give me a moment. It goes invisible. When it's flipped over like this, you can hear it. When something's invisible, unless it does a stealth roll, you actually know its location. You basically kind of know the square, the cube that it's in, basically, right? Because it's going to be flying. The problem with not being able to see a creature, you can still fire an arrow or swing a sword at it. You'll have disadvantage on hitting it, invisible creature. Same thing if you're fighting in the dark or in a fog cloud or something. So again, you roll twice and take the lower of the 2. Most of your spells mention a target you can see. So it's going to be hard to cast spells on things that are invisible. So you're going to generally want to go for the thing that's visible at the time, and some of them are going to be visible and invisible at the time. Obviously, turning invisible is an action. This thing does not attack you. It blinks out of existence, and you hear it flying away, and it sort of flies up high. So if it's something's invisible, assume that it's like a good 10 or 20 feet above your head. So it's difficult to attack. You can shoot at it with disadvantage. You'll have a hard time hitting it with a spell, or just go for a visible imp. That's one that's not after you, right? So you could choose. So you have a bit of a tactical choice here. Remember, as fighters, this is a choice where normally, as fighters, you want to attract things to hit you, just like you do with the kobolds. But this is a much different situation. I'm trying to give you, in your first few sessions, 3 very different kinds of combat, because D&D has many sort of fields that are besides your traditional bunch of monsters all trying to attack you. This one, the tactics are where, as a fighter, it's a little bit hard for you to tank and sort of take this damage because you have to, know where it's at. You can still position yourself and try to make these things, get past you. So still position yourself. Remember, as a fighter, you can give yourself a second wind at any point. So you're kind of built to take damage and heal yourself midway through. The cleric can, of course, heal other people in a limited way. The rest of you who are delicate, normally you'd be getting away from the monsters. The problem is these things, they're flying and they're invisible and they're able to lash out at you. So these are unusually threatening towards each of you. All right. So this thing flies up and away. Again, so I flipped it over, is invisible. You can still target it in the way that I mentioned. All right. That was yellow number 1. That is number 6. Number 7, going for you over here.
Yep.
So this thing is going to go for you. This is a spider this time. No, it looks like an imp. It actually looks like that sort of that red devil thing. Spoiler alert, it's called an imp. So this thing actually looks like that sort of that red horned thing. It does a 22 against you.
And I have bless.
Yes, that'll be your saving throw. So you take 1 point of damage because the sting pierces you. Gets past your armor. However, as you do your poison saving throw, yes, add your bless. So it's a Constitution saving throw. Yep. You take that. So you're going to add 1 on top of everything else. You roll that d20. Very good. 2, and even if you add a few points for your Constitution saving throw, that is not enough. You take 2 points of poison damage. All right. That's 6, 7. Number 8 is over.
In the middle.
Yeah, in the middle. Yeah, this thing it's like a spider, and actually sort of it lands on you. It'll fall off to the side eventually, but it basically sort of bounces off of you and tries to pierce you. Like you hear the flap, and like, oh, I didn't hear it. It's like it's right above you and it stops. Like, this thing hits you as it just turns visible and bites you. Again, with advantage, its better roll is a 17. That is good enough. I can tell by your expression that your armor is not quite that good. You take 1 point of piercing damage from its fangs, and now you must do a Constitution saving throw.
It's 11 plus 4.
Okay, 11 plus 4 is a 15. That is good enough. That's right. That's great. That's great. All right, so you're able to resist its poison damage. Last is you, number 9. This thing's a rat that has appeared next to you.
Hey, rat buddies.
Yeah. Go ahead, it goes ahead, and it's going to try to attack with a 15 and a 10. I'll take the 15. So
That's a hit.
Oh, your AC is not very high, so
That's
you take
15.
15. Exactly right. So you take 1 point of damage. Now do a Constitution saving throw. Use your bless if you've got it. No, you don't have the bless. All right.
Have it. Oh, yeah, no, I'm poisoned.
Okay, you take 2 points of poison damage. Again, these things, imps, they're usually the poison damage is even higher than this, right? So this is something I don't want you to relax around next time you see an imp. These are cold, weakened imps. All right. Now it turns into your turn. We'll go to the initiative. Okay, so we'll start. Yeah, we'll start there. We'll go all the way around clockwise. So you all have chances to take these things on.
Okay, well, I'm gonna pull my greatsword out.
Yeah.
Debating. How big is the rat? Like at what level?
Right now, it's on the ground in front of you.
Okay. Whether we stab it or squish it. I think I might stab it because that way I have.
Yeah, that's right. You're proficient. Yeah, generally, yeah. Squishing it would be satisfying, but I think the sword's your better
it
choice.
gives more
Because you get to
damage.
add more proficiency, more damage. Okay, you're going to try to hit this thing.
Got less. That counts.
No, that only is for saving. Well, yeah, for attacks. Yeah, bless is for attacks as well.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. 5 plus which
Yep.
What's
Whatever's
my-
written down there.
Oh yeah, plus
So plus 7.
So
And then
no, for
the-
my sword, so plus
Yeah.
4.
Okay, great.
So that is 9
Yeah.
plus 1, so 10.
Okay, with a 10, no, it jumps out of the way, and your sword bites into the bricks. Next is you. You can go ahead. You're number 3 over here.
So I'm like pressed right up against the wall, trying to get as far away from that thing as possible.
Yeah, that's right. Now this is number 3. This would be the brown number 3. Oh yes, next to
Still
you.
right
Got
there.
it. Yep. Mhm.
Yep. And I'm a bit poisoned. So
Yeah, luckily it's not ongoing. That poison's 1 damage. Some poisons actually give you a poisoned condition, which gives you disadvantage and all that
Okay.
stuff. This is more of a fleeting poison,
Okay,
so
good.
the
That's
damage
good.
is done as it seems to be out of
Okay.
your system.
So I'm thinking I might pull out magic missile again and see if I can.
Sure,
knock
yeah,
out
this
a few
again,
of
this is
them.
the thing, like, yeah, well, a
Most
certain number of
definitely.
spells, but if the situation is dire, then magic
Gives you
missile is
3 shots or
justifiable.
something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just 3 shots, and you're able to direct it each time. Okay, so you pull out the big spells. You send 1 bolt of arcane energy at this thing right in front of you. So all you have to do is roll your damage. Roll a d4 plus 1.
That's my thing. Okay, D4.
Yep.
2.
2 plus another 1 is 3. This thing is destroyed by it. Again, sort of
Excellent.
in as weak state as it is, you're able to destroy
You've
it.
still got 2 more
Yeah.
to go.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that there's no resistance that I need to worry about. Yeah, with this one. Yep. Nope. Magic missile does full damage against it. You have found a bit of a weak spot with this thing because
Okay.
you can now direct your second missile to something else. This is
Okay.
where you can sort of help out people,
So
decide who you're going to help.
I'm going to put it on the number 1.
Yeah, you see, magic missile. You can't target this one because it's always a
It's
target you can
invisible.
see. Yeah.
But yeah, the brown one over
Spider,
here.
my
Yep.
spider.
Yep. The number 1.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Yeah, go ahead and do your damage on that one.
2.
Pow! That is even enough to destroy it. Magic missiles are the secret. What is the next one? The 3rd bolt.
I might get rid of that yellow number 3 if I can.
Yellow number 3. Okay, go for it.
Thank you.
4.
Oh, that
Oh, he's gone.
gets blown into pieces as it goes away. You've cleared out a bunch of the magic missile. Is definitely a good way to go. All right. In reaction, a few of these are able to turn into. So when that happens, they go eep, and some of them turn invisible. I'm going to randomize which ones they are. So having seen that, this one turns invisible.
Who's that near?
Me.
Bugger.
This one turns invisible.
And who's that?
That's fine.
You're not a healer, are you?
No.
Oh, you're a warrior.
This one turns invisible, but you know where it is. It just means that you have disadvantage to hit it. So we've gone around, we've gone you, we've gone to you.
Is there one that I can see?
Yes, so if it's flipped over completely dark without the rim, it's
So
impossible,
round
but
two.
that's visible. Yep.
I can throw my
And that's
hand axe 20 feet.
Ah, yes, so you can
Nice.
move before, yeah, so you can throw your hand axe, that's very great, and that way you're right near something. Of course, yeah, if you move away from an enemy, even if it's invisible, it can get an attack of opportunity against you, a free attack. Where are you, number 4? This is an
Right
interesting
there.
choice that you make, yeah.
Right.
So I'm
Mhm,
right
yep.
there with the
Yeah, that's right,
shield.
yeah, exactly.
And can I throw my axe?
Yeah, you can
without
throw your
moving?
axe safely.
I won't worry about moving.
Yeah, that's
Just
right.
Throw my axe at
Great
what I can
time,
see,
great way to use ranged, okay.
And I'll have bless on that. Plus,
Yeah, okay.
plus 4.
Yeah, against which target here?
Round 2.
Okay, yeah.
And 19.
19 is enough to hit. Roll your damage to see if you can take out number 2.
So 6 out of 6. So 8 points of slashing damage.
Your hand axe cuts it in half. As these things happen, so as they fall down, they turn to sort of like a slush, but their body still remains. Yeah, so everywhere I've got, you've got sort of these corpses are sort of left behind, and yeah, sort of this steam, this terrible smelling steam rises up. However, as you hit, what was your total damage?
8.
8. You notice that as it hit, it seemed to be exceptionally tough. It seemed to take half damage from your axe. So you only did 4 points of damage. Different monsters have things called resistances. This is something you learn as it is. This
So
thing,
what
these
was
things
it
are
that he- what was it
resistant.
that he hit?
It was an imp with
The
a hand
imp.
axe. Yeah, the imp.
Okay.
So now you've learned that imps are resistant to slashing damage. You'll learn more about this as it goes, and you can remember this. Again, if anybody uses your turn to say, I'm going to remember all I can about imps, you might get more of these things. When it's resistant, it cuts your damage in half. I took half of 8, but luckily that is still enough to kill the imp. All right, so that's took it off the board, but keep that in mind. Again, next time you fight imps that might be stronger, they are resistant to certain kinds of damage, and this is the kind of knowledge that gives you sort of tactical knowledge. As you work your way through the world, these things become useful. All right, number 5.
If I go for number 4, do I get a sneak attack advantage?
Right, you would have, yeah, so you don't get number 4 is over here, yeah. So
Number
if you
5.
hit number 5, yeah, so you do not get you would not get sneak attack damage because it has to. You either have to have advantage against it, which
And
you don't
didn't
have,
an attack of
or you got to have,
opportunity if you went over that way.
or it's got to be next to a friend of yours. Neither of those is true. So you can attack it the normal way because it's invisible.
Oh. I said number 4.
Oh, number 4? Oh, the yellow number
Is that-
4. Yep, that's
is
fine.
that
Yeah,
a-
it's
is that
visible
an
and it's
enemy?
next to a friend. Yes,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
good choice. Very good choice.
That's what I was talking about.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah, I was looking at this number 4. I was got brown on the mind. All right. Yes, that's an excellent choice. What do you have a ranged, or are you
Yeah,
gonna run
bow.
over to it?
A bow.
Okay. Yes, you're gonna use your bow. Now, I'm not doing it yet because there's so many. You have to start committing to what weapon you have. So normally I say at the beginning, what do you have in your hand? If you want to switch weapons, normally you have to unless you have a special feat that's called quick draw, you can actually change your weapons really easily. You'd have to drop your axe in order to pull out your bow. You can only basically interact with one object at a time. I'm waiving that because of the number of people. So let's just say, or you're lucky enough to have your bow out already. Fire your bow at number 4. You don't have advantage, but you will do extra damage if you hit. So go and roll 1d20. Add your bow bonus.
15.
15, that is great. You do your damage, and this time you do your sneak attack damage. So you've written down the damage there. A sneak attack, I believe, is an extra d6 that you add. Do you have a d6? Yeah, you go. Sorry, you can borrow it. So just roll them all together.
No, that's a 4. Yeah. Plus your 20. No, plus your
What's your
Yeah.
damage dice?
your damage dice.
Damage dice is 6. So 3.
Yep, so next to that one, you got 6.
Oh,
Good.
no, sorry, that's wrong.
And d6.
3
Is that
plus
right?
3 plus.
Yep, a d6, so an arrow. An arrow does d6 of damage. So yeah, you roll a d6 for the arrow, and roll d6 for the sneak
Oh, yeah.
attack. So add the two together.
So 3 and 6, so 9.
9. Again, this is piercing damage. These things are resistant to piercing damage. I'm going to cut it in half. I dropped the fraction, so you've only done 4 points of damage, but that is enough to kill the imp
That was
after
an
all.
imp as well, was it?
That's right, yeah. These are all imps. So you realize that these things are sort of changing shape, but as you go through, as it dies, it turns into the horned red skin thing that you see.
Yeah.
So all these spiders, all these rats, and all these ravens, they seem to take on the shape of those animals. Sometimes they take on the shape of an imp, but when they die, they revert to their true form. So you're learning also something about imps. Imps can look like those 3 animals that you just saw. Okay, very well chosen. Next is you.
Can't can't see anything.
You're number 6. That's right. Now you know their location. You just have disadvantage to hit something that's invisible because they're not being stealthy. You know exactly where they are. However, if they're invisible, like this one's flying up in the air. I'm actually going to start marking things that are up in the air because the ones that just sort of blipped into invisibility.
And ravens.
This one I'm going to put on top of a die to show that it's just floating up in the air. But these that suddenly just turned invisible, they haven't had a chance to fly yet. So at least they're on the ground. That's hovering. Those are on the ground. You know its location because it's making noise. You just have a disadvantage. What are you going to go for? And there's other attacks. So I'll start mentioning some other things. You have Sacred Flame, for example. Sacred Flame is you can, but has to be a target you can see. So you can't just sort of, you can't target that one. I believe that Sacred Flame is defined as a target you can see. I actually should know these things. Let me look that up. Let's learn about stuff that we can do.
Is that a
And
Dungeon
you
Master
normally,
program?
and yeah, exactly. I'm looking it up on the computer. But you can get a player's handbook that describes this, or on D&D Beyond, the app will actually tell you all these things. So this is my chance to talk about things. Flame-like radiance descends on a creature you can see within range. Otherwise, this would be an ideal opportunity to use it, so that won't work. If you have other things, you say, however, sleep covers an area. So you pick a point, and everything in that radius, whether you can see it or not, might suffer the effects of sleep. Now, can imps sleep? You know, that's something that you can use one of your knowledge checks before you waste the spell. One of you might do a knowledge check. With imps, you have to choose, are they natural creatures? Are they creatures that come from some sort of elemental plane? So religion would be the case if it comes from someplace besides the material plane. Then you'd use religion. Arcana, you know, something like a magically created creature. If you pick the right thing, then I'll tell you whether it's right or not. Even if you pick the wrong thing, you have a chance to know. So you want to guess what skill to use. That's if you want to use an action to figure out what imps are like. Sleep is an area spell. Even if it's invisible, it'll affect the thing in the area. There are some other spells like Burning Hands.
Guiding bolt.
You wizards, that a Guiding Bolt, I believe, is something that you can see. I'll go and read. I only have the spells written down for people on the default character. So if you made your own character, good on you, but you'll need to look up some of these things. Burning Hands, however, is everything in a cone area takes that fire damage. Now, how are imps deal with fire damage? So you have a couple things to consider. Is it invisible or not? What are you going to use? All these different things. Well, let's learn as we go. Whose turn is it?
Me.
Yes, Frank. Okay, so what you
this
going to do?
thing in the middle of the room?
So you can sort of tell because number 8 is standing next to it. It is a brick-lined shaft. It goes at an angle, and it seems like there's bricks that are sort of protruding from it. It seems almost like something's built to be climbed down, but it does look like it would be quite it would take time and care to go down. As you're going down, you can just devote yourself to going down, but these things are flying creatures, so you're not sure that would get you away from the imps. But it seems like it does go down to a room. You can see way down at the end, after many tens of feet, there's another brick floor down there, but you're not sure about that as an escape route.
Not sure. I'm going to grab my warhammer and run to where I saw this one before it just went
Yeah,
invisible.
that's right. Yeah, you know where it is? Okay, great. Yep.
So
So it's number 6. Yep, you come running over. Right, so yeah, this, you could hear it sort of skittering around and hissing. So you have disadvantage to hit this one. Roll twice, take the lower of the two.
Oh, that's right. 16.
16, very good. So you managed to hit it, a nice solid hit.
Do you have
Roll your damage.
an extra on top of, like, is 16 what you rolled, but is there extra that you have to hit, like your warhammer's plus
Oh, the
4?
warhammer's got to be +4. But
Yeah.
and I thought that's the 8.
8.
nice.
Plus 2 bludgeoning.
Plus 2 bludgeoning. All right, so it's again a total of 10. So you've hit it with bludgeoning damage. Very nice. Thank you for illustrating this. You've demonstrated every type of damage very skillfully, as if I picked it myself. This thing, its body seems very hard, like its body doesn't squish the way a body should. It is resistant to bludgeoning damage, so it takes only half from bludgeoning damage. Yet enough, so it seems to have a suite of resistances. The good news is that you did 8. I cut that in half to make 4, and that's enough to destroy it. So you splatter it, turns visible. Again, it's that red skin thing, and it is just a mess on the floor. Good job. All right, next.
So now, I have a bow. I'm thinking of it.
Yeah. We can skip you if that's your phone. We'll come back to you.
That's all right. And I might Since you did such a wonderful job at killing mine, I might shoot for this one here because I can hear it flapping quite close to me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's up in the air, but a bow,
Yeah.
you should be able to reach it just fine. You'll have disadvantage because it's invisible. So let's see how that goes. You roll twice and take the lower of the two, but it would be a great shot if you can hit something flying through the air and invisible. That's heroic
A
stuff.
15.
Oh, okay.
And a 14.
15 and 14 will take the lower of the two.
14 plus I have a +7 advantage with my longbow.
Oh, you rolled a 14. Oh, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you roll, typically as you get used to it, just go and give the total. So when you roll a d20, you have a bonus. Just do the math first and just say, oh, I got a blah, blah, blah. That's fine. You don't have to tell me what you roll. Unless you rolled a 20. Make sure you cheer and make a scream if you roll a 20.
And I have bless as well.
Yeah, blessed.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
that's
Okay.
23.
23. Wow, what a shot. You managed to pierce it. Is it enough to kill it? Or you hear the arrow hit it solidly? Again, it sounds like you're hitting something hard, not something soft. You know that's going to be resistant to this piercing damage. Roll the damage from your bow. So one of those smaller dice.
1d8.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go.
this one?
It's got like
Plus
the
3
two pyramids butt to
diamond
butt.
shape one.
There you go, yeah.
Plus 3, I think so.
Yeah.
I got 4.
Good.
Plus 3, 7.
7. Okay, so I'll cut that down to 3.
Yep.
That is barely enough to get it. This
Plus
weakened
your
imp
bliss.
is still taken out. No, you get it. No, you
Oh,
kill it. Yeah,
yes.
it's barely enough to kill it. That it spirals down. This black ichor is pouring out of it, and as it hits the splat, there's this pool of sort of black ichor surrounds it, and it stays still as a corpse there on the floor. All right, we're doing very well. Next.
I'm seriously freaked out about the spider on the head.
Yeah.
I think I can recover enough to use my longbow
Okay.
and shoot at one of these two that's
Yeah.
invisible. There are only two left, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. Looks like
So
yeah,
I'll
there's
shoot
two
at
left.
number 3, or 4, whatever it is there.
Okay, yep.
Four.
Number 4. All right. See if you can do a disadvantage.
It's like
Roll twice. Take the lower of the two.
3 plus 7 is 10.
10, yeah, you've added that up. Not enough. With this one, it skips off of its hide, that sort of tough hide. You hear and you see the arrow sort of change direction as it hits something invisible and sticks into the wall beyond. That imp is not scratched. Next is you.
Okay, so can I use my dash to head over near that number 4?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll.
What number are you? Yeah, you're
6,
number 9. Yeah, number 9 here.
9,
Yep,
sorry.
mhm.
Yep.
Yep, number 4 is over here.
This.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You actually don't have to dash. So you can move 6
Yeah, I'll
squares.
just
Your
use
movement is
my-
30 feet.
Yeah, I'll just use my normal movement.
This is the
then.
first time that I'll describe. So when we were in the jail cell, I didn't really keep track of number of squares. You have a speed. Almost all of you move 30 feet, but some of you who are halflings, you have and dwarves, you all move a little slower. Dwarves are just kind of stocky. And it's little legs, so you move 25 feet, so that's 5 of these squares. Halflings, you're basically small like a child, so your feet can go real well, but you're only able to move that far. This is a slight disadvantage having there. You are an elf, you're able to move 6 squares, that's 30 feet. So luckily, you can barely get there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you see as I count diagonals, diagonals are fine. You can do diagonals like anything else.
Okay.
That's your movement. Now you can do your action. As you attack this thing, you have to roll twice and take the lower of the two if you're using a weapon.
Rapier.
Okay, so whip out with your rapier and stabbing at it.
Oh yeah.
Roll
I'm
twice,
I'm not
just
going to get him.
Oh.
That's a 1.
Oh, okay. Start off with a 1. No
But
point
I've got-
rolling again.
I've got 2 weapon fighting though. So I
Oh,
can go
okay,
for him
great.
again.
Yes. So use your bonus action to do the other
So
one.
19
All right, team with the lower of the two.
and 17. So
Okay, yeah, add those up.
17
That's
and-
enough.
17 and 6. Yep.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so you swash once. You have 1 rapier in a hand and a dagger in the other, I assume. You have 2. Do you actually have 2 weapons in your
2
hand?
rapier.
Oh, you have 2 rapiers.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that. I wonder if 2-weapon white fight, if you can have 2 rapiers or if one has to be a dagger. We'll check that later.
I
So
think it's
remind me that.
it's a
later.
rapier or a short sword.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yep.
we'll cover that later. So let's just you have a second weapon in your hand. You go
Yep.
ahead and chop at that thing. You've hit it. Now roll your damage.
Okay, so it's a 4 plus 4.
Okay, that is 8 points of damage. It is resistant to this because that's either piercing or slashing
Yep.
damage, depending on what kind of thing you are. But again, cutting in half, you still managed to kill it. All right, you're last. We've got just 1 left that you can hear about. Yep.
Whoa, I'm down to 3 hit points. I'm pretty weak and
Yeah.
pretty scared there could be more around.
Okay, all right.
So I'm just going to cast Shield on myself.
Ah, now shield is an interesting one. So this is a spell that that mages have. You do that as a reaction, which is really quite advantageous. When I say, oh, it's a hit or it rolls really high, you say, ah, I'm going to use shield. It increases your AC temporarily. right? So until the end of
That's
your
not a
turn.
permanent one. it's
Yeah,
just
so
you're
there's
right.
something called Shield of Faith, which is something where you can cast permanently. So clerics have things that can make their companions' armor higher all the time. It's a spell they can spend. That's one strategic thing. There's also called Mage Armor, which so you can cast on yourself ahead of time. It raises your AC, but that's not really described here on the basic sheet. So Shield, let's say you're going to hold that. If something attacks you, remind me of Shield, because as a reaction you'd be able to. If you haven't used your reaction during combat, you have one reaction to use, and once you use your reaction, you don't get a recharge, and it comes back to you. Your reaction can do an opportunity attack. Can do a couple other things, so keep that in mind with Shield. So you don't have to be quite so scared. You can, if you are afraid, you can take what's called a dodge action. So you're just doing nothing but kind of staying on your defensive. It means everything has a disadvantage to attack you.
Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oops, turn this back on. All right. So you take the dodge action.
So whereabouts are you? You're down the other. You're
Yeah.
further down.
Yeah.
Oh, you're there.
I wouldn't be
Okay.
able to hit it anyway.
I think mine's the last one.
Yeah.
Have you been hit yet? Like poison?
Once. Yeah.
So you caught both of them?
No.
Just the 1 point?
Yep, just the
Okay.
1 point.
Okay, cool.
I've been like able to be pretty
Oh,
lucky.
he's getting
They're coming in.
I've rolled.
Monster's turn.
That was too easy.
I said to you, none of them were stealthing. It turns out that some of them actually were being very stealthy and were creeping up on you, all right? So the first couple are ones that have silently come up on you, unless you've got a very high perception, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll its stealth, right? And when it comes across, either you've heard it coming or not. What you want to do is look at your passive perception. When someone's sneaking up on you, you're always listening to the battlefield, yeah?
My passive.
Your passive perception is maybe written in a character sheet, but it's really easy. Pretend you rolled a 10 on perception. So wisdom, so it's like 10 plus your wisdom bonus, or 10 plus your perception bonus if your perception is listed. Again, you might be trained in perception. You're especially good at it, so you'd be especially high. All right. So as I get around to each of these things, we're going to see if you hear it coming. In which case, yeah, you're going to, yeah, you want to. How can I teach this with the stealth as it comes? Yeah, because this is all in dim light. These things have been visible and creeping up on you, so they're not invisible because they want to be able to attack, right? They've stealthed instead. We'll see. We'll just go around to each of you. We'll do one at a time. No, I'm going to pull tokens out.
Is the number how hard they are to kill?
No, that's right. Okay, so yellow number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is coming up on you. Yep, that's right. So.
No, I'm 9 over there.
Yeah, you're 9, yeah, exactly, but the 4 matches over here.
Yep.
This one, as it's creeping up, do you see it? Does it get advantage on you? This is a spider that's crawling across, trying to be sneaky. It is going to roll stealth against your passive perception. I'll do this openly. So what is your passive perception? 14. I rolled a 14. I won't tell you the bonus, and so you'll eventually figure out the bonus, but it apparently has a big bonus on stealth because that is enough that you do not hear it coming. It as it attacks, it has advantage on you. So while it's hidden, it has advantage as it tries to attack.
I've also a question.
Yeah.
This +2 proficiency bonus, is that like when you've been trained in something?
Yeah, so everything you're trained in, you add your proficiency
So,
bonus. So
like-
now you're starting to figure out how the numbers work. So those numbers for your attack and everything, they're all based on your attributes, which you've got here. So either it uses your attribute bonus, or it uses your attribute bonus plus your proficiency, which is 2.
What about
As you get to higher levels, your proficiency gets even higher.
this passive wisdom perception thing down there? What about that?
Yeah, that's right. So that's 13. So it's the same as your wisdom is over here. So your wisdom is +1, but perception, see how the circle is dark? That means it's one that you've trained. So you've spent your precious time learning about how to be perceptive. So it takes your +1 for wisdom, +2 because you've got a proficiency bonus. That's why it's 3.
Okay.
Yeah? But those of you who don't have a colored circle for perception, it means that, yeah, you haven't specialized in that, so it's just going to use your wisdom score. So you see, as you build a character, these are considerations. You'll have a certain number of skills you can be proficient in. And one of the choices as you build a character, and you can remake your character or modify your character, anytime, because we're all learning here, you can specialize in different skills. If you go to D&D Beyond or use the player's handbook to build your character, you figure out how many skills you've got. So you see your character has different sort of skills and spells and things like that. I know I'm going quite slow in describing it, but hopefully this is not too slow for everybody because I want to make sure everybody understands. It's just a way to make the game really interesting. I love the mechanics and the tactics of this. all this adds up to whether you are able to hear or not. Your passive, it was you that this thing snuck up on?
Yes.
Is the passive perception. I rolled this. It maybe has a special training in stealth, so either I've added its dexterity or its dexterity plus something else. If imps are especially, you might figure out, like based on what the imps roll, imps are more than, maybe they're especially good at stealth, you're not sure yet. But certainly, I already know it's high enough to get you, which means that's advantage. But for all that, it rolled an 8, even with its advantage. So,
No.
even though you just saw it the last second, and it's sitting right there against you, you were able to jump out of the way. Let's do it again. All right, this is brown number 1. It goes for you, the one that was most scared of being attacked. Of course, that's the one that comes over you. This one is a rat. It actually has a, it's appeared next to your friend there. It's going to roll stuff. What's your passive perception?
My passiv's at 13.
Okay, I'm gonna actually look up the stealth bonus again. Okay, so 13. I'm gonna roll this and see if I get high enough to get advantage on this. 13. Oh, the 4 against a 13. No, it is not. Its stealth has been very poor. You hear it coming. It does not have advantage against you. So.
Doesn't have disadvantage because I dodge.
Exactly. That's right. Good. So you got to remind the DM of these things. I'm not forgetting on purpose. So not only it did not have advantage because your perception of stealth is poor enough, but because you chose a dodge action, it has disadvantage as it tries to attack you.
If it had advantage and I gave a disadvantage, would it just cancel that out?
They cancel out, exactly. And this makes it simple. You can have like 2 things giving you advantage and only 1 thing giving you disadvantage. They always just cancel each other out. Any number of advantage and disadvantage cancel each other out. So I've rolled with disadvantage. Oh, it's good because my other roll was quite high. It is a 7 against you. Now your armor class is not that high, but even a 7 misses you. You're able to dodge out of the way. But if it hadn't had disadvantage, you hadn't taken dodge, you would have gotten hit.
How many hit points you got?
Really. That's why I was so worried.
Cool.
Okay,
Most definitely.
thing is visible. All right.
Need to get a heal on you.
Yellow, number 3. I feel like I'm playing bingo here. This is number 8. Yeah, all right.
Center.
All right. This thing comes up the shaft, I think, is probably the best way to do it. You know, like you're sort of like, oh, that shaft is interesting.
Is it a spider?
No, it goes up, yeah, exactly. It's another, of course it's another spider. Never tell the DM how worried you are. This thing's basically standing, you know, on the lip next to you, sort of coming up, yeah.
Please jump on his head again. Please jump on his head
That's right.
again.
Now, it's got a stealth bonus. What is your passive perception?
13.
Okay, 13. Okay, rolled a 6, but what is its bonus? I'm going to compare that to a 13. I forgot what a stealth bonus is. Ooh, no, it's barely too noisy. You nearly missed it. You nearly got surprised, but you were like, you were so surprised. But it was a close one. This thing is obviously quite good at stealth because even though, yeah, it didn't have very good circumstance. Yep. So it has no advantage as it tries to attack you. Here we go. Ooh, with the 16, however. With your leather
14
armor? You have
14.
leather armor. Some of you are well armored enough that your AC would have survived that, but not you. You take a point of piercing damage. So that's 1 already. And you have to do a Constitution saving throw. Are you blessed? No?
No.
You're not one of the blessed ones, are you?
Blessed ones. That's 20.
A 20? Oh, fantastic. You shake off the poison as it goes into you, so you take only the 1 point of damage. And I'll do just one more. Last one.
No, not quite that one.
Yellow, 2. That is 1, 2. That's you.
Oh, no.
Your number is 7. Yeah, 6, 6, 7. Your number 7? Yep. Okay. This one has got that red-skinned appearance, right? It was actually flying silently. It turns out this thing can actually be stealthy even while it's flying. It's kind of gliding towards you. It's trying to not flap its wings and disturb the things around you, but your passive perception may reveal what it is. So, as it comes at you in the dim light, what is your passive perception?
13.
What is it?
13.
13,
Yeah.
all right. This is getting very close. That plus that. You are able to hear it coming. It does
Yes.
not have advantage. Oh, man.
That's a good thing.
Yep. It is able to swing at you normally with a 14. Oh, a 14. No. I did a 14 against your armor class. What is your armor
What
class?
is my armor class?
14.
Oh, just enough. All right. So its stinger pierces into you. You take 1 point of piercing damage. Go ahead and do a Constitution saving throw.
Add your bless.
I my bless.
And add the bless.
So that's 18.
18, good. You are able to
Plus
resist.
my constitution.
Nailed it.
No
22.
worries. You're able to resist the poison. Okay.
I think with a throw like that, it's not like the poison bounces back.
That's right.
Poisons itself.
That's right.
Gives a bit of flush back.
That's it. It's it.
All right. One last chance to get rid of these new enemies, but this is the last wave, and we'll do initiative. So we'll see how far we'll get around the circle before they're all dead.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have
Do I
one.
roll first or pick which one I'm going for?
Yeah,
first?
one that's invisible. This one's sort of sheltered. This one's sort of down the shaft a little bit, so it's a little bit hard to hit if you're not close to it.
That
Yeah,
one.
these are all on the
Right
ground.
Next to me, that one, the yellow one, like yellow 4.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah. So what you gonna do?
Because I've got a sword and a bow, and maybe I'd be able to shoot that one down because it's invisible.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna get my bow out anyway because it does the most damage.
Okay. So you're gonna shoot at the one right next to you with the bow.
Yeah, most likely.
You would have disadvantage with that, so there's nothing I
Oh.
can reveal. So when you're using a ranged weapon, if it's in the square right next to you, because it's able to move and you have to keep swiveling back and forth, you have disadvantage on that with it.
Can I change targets?
Yes, this is where I'd want to encourage you. Did you have a bow last time? Or do you have a,
Last attack? No, I didn't.
your last attack? Okay. So now I'm going to ask you to stick with whatever you used last time. Okay. So you already have a sword in your hand, which is good because this thing is probably
Okay, I'll
ideal
take
to
that
hit with a
one.
sword.
I'll
All
take
right.
the sword then.
Yep. So it's visible. So you just do a normal blow. So with a 1, yeah, you try to move. It sort of fakes you out. It's like, am I going this way or that way? It's like what is it? A spider? Is this one a spider? Is this one a rat? I can't remember what it is. Yeah, it's dodging back and forth. It totally fakes you out. You sort of go for it, and yeah, it stings your hands. Some DMs will say when you roll a 1, it's called a critical fumble. I personally have subscribed to the theory that you shouldn't do critical fumbles, so they actually slow combat down, which is already slow enough, in my opinion. But also, it's actually players roll so many dice that critical fumbles can be really harmful. It takes away your entire turn and other disadvantages and stuff. So I do not do critical fumbles, though I respect DMs that do. It just lengthens things out. So let's just say you just missed. A 1 is always a miss, right? Even if you have like a plus 14 and this thing has just got an AC of 9, you will always miss with a 1. You will always hit with a 20. So if you roll a natural 20, a peasant firing a bow is going to hit a dragon and do double damage. Unfortunately, a dragon probably has 200 hit points, and the bow is only going to do like 5 points of damage, and the dragon will eat the peasant. But that's the way the dice work. Okay, so next around the circle, choose a target.
Oh, I don't really.
Yeah, considering like who's in trouble, who's under most threat, which are the easiest targets to hit.
1 point off of me?
Yes. No, not 1 point off you. No, you rolled 1. Just means it was your turn to hit.
Okay.
You missed. It does not. You
Okay,
did not
just
damage
stun me.
yourself.
Okay.
No. I was. This is you versus the imp. You just missed it with your sword.
So this brown number 1 is right next to me, so
Yeah.
I don't have to move anywhere.
Okay, fine.
Just stab it with my short sword.
Okay. Yep. Get what's right close to you. All right. Stab with the short sword. You roll a
sorry.
d20. Yep. And add your bonus for the short sword.
17.
17. Yes, that's enough to hit. You roll your damage against this imp.
6.
6. Okay, I'm going to cut that in half. Also, the hit points for these imps is somewhat randomized. I know that some of them died on that, but this one is a little bit tougher. Seems to be a little bit better. It's also shivering a little bit less. It actually seems like as it sort of moved, it's like some of the ice has sort of melted off of it. It seems to be a little bit sort of tougher. Like now you're noticing after the activity, these imps are starting to thaw out a little bit, so it's time to finish them off fast. This thing is wounded, but not dead. I'm going to put this on here to show this wounded. Usually that's why I flip it over. We're using that for invisible. All right, next. Finish these off before they start thawing out.
I'm going to, because it's a cantrip, cast
Yep.
Sacred Flame.
So it has to be something we can see. That's great.
Yellow 4.
Okay, yellow number 4. Yep. All right, Sacred Flame, reaching across, pointing across the room. Go ahead and it does a dexterity saving throw. All right. What is the DC? So when somebody tries to save,
13.
I can see your sheet. Okay, 13. This is an interesting thing. We haven't done this kind of spell before. So saving throws. Monsters make saving throws just like you do. And what number does it have to get? It's called your spell DC difficulty class. It's based on how wise he is and his proficiency and all that other stuff. So it's like 8 plus your wisdom plus proficiency is your DC.
Does his bliss go on top of that?
This is the saving throw by the imp, so in which case it wouldn't. Yeah. But if the imp were blessed, and sometimes monsters do have the equivalent bless on each other,
Yep.
the imp would be able to use this. And you said your number is 13, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to reveal something else. Imps have what's called magical resistance. They get advantage on saving throws against magical effects. Something new that you've discovered.
Is
It's
there
gonna
anything they're not resistant to?
I know. Imps are annoyingly resistant, you're discovering, is the general theme here. Okay, well, I'm going to take the better of the two, but 7 is not very good. I'm going to take a look at what his dexterity bonus is. 13, no, it is not enough. It gets hit by the Sacred Flame. This one over here. Roll your damage for Sacred Flame.
And that's the thing I can't find. I'm not quite sure what Sacred Flame damage was.
So 1d8.
Aha. You
It's
help me out with that?
Yep, hang on, it's on the slightly less detailed
you've got a lot
one.
of
Yep,
pages
Sacred
there.
Flame is when
Sorry.
you...
You've got a lot of
Cool.
pieces of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Not bimbo.
3.
3, okay. So in just the split second that it starts to catch fire under it, it says in common, sort of heavily accented common, "Ha! Imps resistant to fire!" And so you realize, oh shit, they're immune to fire. Say, imps immune to fire, they say. But Sacred Flame is not fire damage. It is called radiant damage. Sacred Flame is holy, and it has the shape of flames, as we discovered last time, but it actually creates sort of this holy or unholy light. It does what's called radiant damage. It turns out that imps are immune to fire. You now know that through its victorious last words. It is not immune to radiant damage. As a matter of fact, yeah, you feel especially satisfying to take this very wicked-looking thing and kill it with holy light. All 3 points of that damage are done against it, and it dies. Out it goes. Now, this is all a process of learning more about imps. It won't be the last time you encounter them, so it's good to remember this stuff. You are next.
I'm gonna go for possibly the wounded one. I think it's that one right there.
Yep, this one with the dot on it is wounded, yeah.
And as same as before, I'm gonna try and do my sneak attack as well if I can.
Great, yeah, because you got a friend next to it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's kill some imps.
17.
17, that hits. All right, do your damage, and you remember to add on your sneak attack damage.
So that's
2 d6s. So you roll d6 twice, and you've also add whatever your damage bonus is there.
and a 5.
3 to 5. I think with your damage, you get to roll a d6 plus something else.
Plus 3.
Yeah, because that's your dexterity bonus. Again,
so
see how
it's
your
8,
attributes
so it's
do?
11.
The more dexterous is. 11 total, very good. It is destroyed. It is torn apart by that. And again, as pieces are lying on the ground in front, you're doing very well. Gonna keep going around. See if you can finish all the imps this time.
So I can see the one that's just tried to glide in that was very...
Yeah, that's right,
sneaky
yeah.
on us.
Uh-huh.
So I lift the hammer back up and then switch it around and try and croquet hit.
Okay, that's great. Yes, you're right next to it. You're in perfect position for that.
So that's a 16.
Okay, 16. That is enough to hit it. Very good. Roll your damage.
8.
8, yes. Even cut in half, as it unfortunately it is, you wipe out that imp. We're getting down to it. Next is you.
So what's left?
We've got one imp over here is kind of crouching down. This is sort of clinging on. The spider is clinging here.
Well, I'm going to take
And you've got an
my-
invisible one there.
Okay.
3 rays at the top, 4
Well, I can see the spider and it's closer, so I might take the longbow and...
6 number 7. Yeah, this one's actually down a little bit. So with a longbow, you have you have to run up close, but then you can sort of, if you would run on the other side, you'll like fire into it. That'd be pretty badass. So number 7, you can move plenty 1, 2, 3, 4, so you don't even have to use all of your movement. You can from here fire at that sort of up against the sloping wall. You can pin it to the wall if you hit well enough.
All right.
So roll your damage. Or roll your d20 and your bow bonus.
Plus 2 bless.
Plus your bless.
The 10 plus...
Very good, getting there.
The bow?
Yep, so 10 plus your bless. Go and roll that d4 that you got in your
Plus
hand.
17 plus 2.
Good, okay, yep.
You got to roll for the bless. It's not
Yeah, that's
each
right.
time.
Oh,
Yeah, you roll for the bless. Yep, it's a variable each time.
and 3. So...
Plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, so all adds up to more than the target, the AC. You pin this thing, its corpse is now sort of stuck to the wall with an arrow through it. And it is, but, I'll draw a little picture of it there. You pierce it there. Very good. We only have one invisible imp left. And
It's the same one.
It's the same
It's
one
the
that's
same
been
one
sort
that's
of-
just been chilling by
Yeah,
the
it's
whole
been chilling
time.
out. All right.
All
See if we
right,
can
so
finish it off.
we're going to have to fire my bow, which I already have out from last time,
Yeah.
against the invisible imp.
Okay.
So this is a disadvantage, right?
Yeah.
That's 17. And 17.
Ooh, all right. You have
7
disadvantage. Another
is
brilliant shot.
24.
All right, again, hearing it it's sort of hissing and stepping on the.
Oh, nice.
Ooh,
9.
great. Okay, 9. You destroy this imp. It was just starting to move too. Like you could just tell that it was starting to like edge its way over, invisible as it was. It seemed to be heading for this shaft. Let's even sort of give a bit of color here, that because let's say that its movement started a little bit early. You could not do an opportunity attack to it, number 5, because you can't see it. You can only do an opportunity attack against things you can see. So just making a clean getaway, you're able to lead it. You know where it's going in a straight line. You manage to pick the spot exactly, and it becomes visible as it splats on the ground. You have defeated a bunch of weakened imps, right? That are slowly getting stronger as you go. You have destroyed a whole bunch of them.
I dodged a bunch of them.
That's right. Hey, that's good. That's
I
good.
somehow
Everybody.
failed to hit
Everybody
any
did
one
their
of
part. So you can see how that combat feels very different from the Kobold one. They're coming at you from unpredictable directions. It's much less about where you position yourself, but it's much more like, well, this target is invisible. This one's on the ground. This one is flying. This one's fighting somebody who's nearly dead, whatever else. All these things are choices. This is about choosing which target you have. Also, you learned about resistances. But you realize, who remembers what was the kind of damage that was not cut down? What were the best kind of attacks to do against imps?
It's a radiant.
Radiant, yeah, exactly.
Radiant.
Not resistant to radiant damage. And there's one other kind of attack that did very well.
Wasn't piercing or slashing?
Yeah, piercing, slashing.
Magic missile.
Magic missile, yeah. Magic missile does what's called force damage. That's another type of damage called force damage. So you're guessing that force is not one of the things. And the great thing about force damage is that very few things seem to be immune to force damage. All right, little things you've learned about imps. Let me see how much time we have, because it might be time for like a quick sort of knowledge check. But give me a moment. Well done.
Killed them pretty quickly, actually.
The invisibility didn't help them much at all.
No.
did it?
Yeah, that's right. You rolled really well. Yeah, you can see how the dice can treat you very well. Disadvantage can be very frustrating, but sometimes like, it's nothing but a thing. I rolled twice. I rolled high twice. It's good stuff.
Is there a magic or a spell where you can actually see invisible things?
There are, yes. There's something called Fairy Fire, which is a spell that you can cast when you get to slightly higher level. Bards and mages and maybe some others can do it. And you cast it on an area where you think an invisible thing is, like you can hear it, but you can't see it. It coats things with sort of magical glow, so you sort of like this magical, this outline. Not only is it visible, but you have advantage against it, so it's even better than visible. So yeah, that reveals things. There's also some other spells might do that. There's something you can cast on yourself, like clerics, for example, can cast eventually, I think, no, maybe it's wizards, cast see invisible, so you're able to see invisible objects, right? There's some things called blind fighting. So some fighters get something called blind fighting, which says like you don't have disadvantage against invisible creatures. You just sort of can tell so well by their sound that they're able to fight blind in the dark, in the fog, or against invisible things. So again, you see these character choices sort of specialize you. And yeah, they're tactical. This is part of D&D. It's a war game in many ways. You don't have to have lots of combat in D&D, but so much of the book is dedicated to it that I like combat. But you see that it also gives your character lots of color. So when you're picking your character, don't really worry too much about what makes my character the most powerful, because I'll let you in on a secret. If you make yourselves really, really powerful, the DM is just going to give you stronger monsters. Now, that might be very satisfying. You're like, we want stronger monsters. Stronger monsters are cool. So if you want to sort of make yourself a powerful character, feel free. But the goal of the game, you don't win by having the most powerful character. You win by enjoying the game as much as possible. And the enjoyment comes from you have an image in your head of what your character is and does. Some things just feel cool to do. And you have different combinations you start playing off each other. And see, we've made sort of like a cinematic action movie out of this combat. And that's what a big part of D&D is about. So hopefully you get a good idea of your characters, and you are having a bit of a celebration. You can go and talk to each other a little bit, congratulate each other. You might think in character, like in character was the first thing that you do. I'll look up some things with whether loot is possible. Go and talk to each other a little bit.
Split something in half. So just do this.
I want to go and have a look at this mirror.
Can anybody heal me, please?
Croquet.
Anyone
Yeah.
got a healing spell? Or
Yeah, we're out of
Sorry,
combat. So
Throwing like
now, those who are wounded, you might have a chance sometime to do a short rest before you go down there. This is the kind of place where it's not safe, but short rest, you're not like asleep and vulnerable. You might be able to do a short rest. We'll do that next session. But so if you're feeling wounded, you can ask for something right now. You can wait until next session before asking for it. But also, looks like you might have an opportunity to do a short rest next time. You get to roll one of your hit dice. So I'll cover that later on. So whenever you guys your hit die, you have one to spend all day. You'll be able to roll that and add your Constitution bonus. Also, warriors are able to do that second wind.
Yeah, I might do a second wind.
and you'll get that back with a short rest. So you might just, it's always good to use that. So if you do that, go and follow the directions there. If somebody can help you out on how that works, if it's not clear, and you can do a second wind on yourself while I look up this next
You
thing.
can use a bonus
And go
action
keep talking amongst yourselves, but
D10.
I wanted to answer that question.
D10.
Yeah, I think we'll do
Is that this one here?
Yeah, that's it.
So how long is a short rest?
No, I don't know how long it is.
We'll do that next session, but it lasts an hour. Yeah,
Okay.
you're awake, you're doing sort of light activity, it lasts an hour.
And how many hit points can you get back? A 1d6.
Yeah, so you roll the d6, then you'd add your Constitution bonus. That's it's a risk that, or it's a gamble.
So
that you take.
basically,
More
you-
gambling.
you- so there's a
Trying
lot
to hit
of
something.
Yeah.
You always roll the
downstairs
20.
area.
Okay.
And
And
then
I've
If you're using your
So
long
then there's the rate.
you
of-
add
All right, so Liam, show the last slide for you for the next slide. You guys are
before you also had a blessed spell on
I
you.
missed
So
a
you
lot.
got
I
to
missed a
You-
lot.
add the results of that
That should
too
be
as
okay.
well onto
And
your
then
attack.
there's
That's if you hit
Whew.
it, then that tells you how much damage you're going to do to it. So once you've hit it successfully, you would roll 1d8, which is that one, and then add 3 onto the result.
And a D.
Which one's the inside?
6, that's these
Yeah.
ones.
As
Yeah, d6.
And then
So
add
when you roll that, it'll be a d6. Yeah, if you do short rest, you'll roll that d6 and add your Constitution bonus. That's how many hit points you get back.
Trying to swing it around.
Plus your
Trying to see
concentration.
if I can do like
It's alright. If I get a 5 or a 6.
Yeah, so we'll do the short rest next session, so don't roll it now, but you can sort of plan ahead. This will be your decision whether you're going to ask somebody for healing, whether you want to
I do not lose a single hit point, so I'm okay.
Yeah, I don't
You know,
really
if you're worried, like if you get attacked, then it might be like, okay, well, I'm going to lose a turn while I ask for healing, so you could preemptively say, oh, this seems like a dangerous enough place, so I want you to be full. Like, I don't want to wait an hour. Yeah,
And
I'm going to
sort of
cast the spell
just,
now.
just quietly, I'm probably not going to do that because I've got one
The
spell.
higher
You're right, exactly. So this is all the tactics, right? Because you know you got to keep going down.
So
So
normally
normally
max HP anyway.
You got so you just do the
But I'm
guys.
too
Yeah,
busy
so
playing
you-
with
Okay, all I've got to do is loot, and what's next
18
session?
is like almost godlike.
Okay, good. We're in perfect
Yeah,
time.
so that
Presuming that my character's a
Depending
little
on how high
distracted by
it
this
is.
camera, probably
You get
will
the
be
words.
So you're a
It's these
rogue.
bonuses.
For sure.
Because I
Add
was
on to
like
various.
I like
Yeah.
the green.
Oh,
berries.
right.
8.5, and then
Yeah.
the next one was 11.
Because of very
I'm
strong
getting
constitution.
That's awesome.
It's good green.
Yeah, it's a really good green. That's
You
great.
get
Same as me.
D6 for still
D6,
attack.
yeah.
And then what's your
Ordinary. Not lose a single
Doesn't
point.
give us one bonus.
Okay.
No, it's the same.
Let me wrap this up because I always want to end by 9. You know, I try to keep my sessions very sharp because we're dealing with new players. They have lives and schedules, so I always make sure to end by 9. Which you have time to do a little bit of loot. Just I'll do a little bit of a recap, and then you'll be able to choose what the next session is about. First of all, loot. Each imp, as the body, the body never goes away. It just sort of lies there. Those of you who are trained in religion, something in the back of your mind is like, there's something weird about that, but you have to sort of make a mental note of that. If later on you get a chance, like, hey, why don't you sit down and really try to remember something? Those of you who are trained in religion say, there's something weird about like seeing a dead body of an imp is strange to you, but you can't remember why. But later on, you might be able to do things. I'll say in some sessions, and maybe in the next session, say, hey, you're gonna try to clear up a lot of mysteries. Like I've given you a lot of breadcrumbs, and some players like, I just want to learn more about this world. I want to do less combat next time. I want to investigate mysteries. I want to develop some RP relationships and stuff like that. You can vote to basically have a session that's largely dedicated to that. Even if I have a regular session, I might say, hey, you all get to make a move. So somewhere like in the beginning, I'll say, you all can develop the story or develop the mystery. You can say, hey, I'm going to think back, maybe I've taken the body of an imp with me, and I'm going to sort of contemplate, what does this mean? Or I'm going to remember what it was like to have an imp. You'll be able to do one move. So one thing has happened sometime in the past to say, I'm going to try to figure out that mystery. What was up with the chains? What was up with that reflection in the mirror? What was up with those needles? Especially if you have the item on you, that makes it even better, right? You can sort of contemplate it. But also, if something's mystifying you, you might just want to make notes. Like, probably all of you have 7 or 8 mysteries that you've been exposed to, and when you make a move, you'll be able to pursue one of them. You might say, well, I have a particular skill that might be very good at plumbing that particular kind of mystery. So based on your skills, you might pick different mysteries to pursue. That's just something that we'll keep in mind. But anyway, I was distracted. The corpses of the imps, which again sort of snags on your mind a little bit. There is a little chip of onyx inside each one. Basically, it seems like it's sort of like it might be like embedded in its neck, or sort of like embedded in its sternum, and you're able to pick it out. But it's like a perfectly good gem. So each of you, you can write down if you like from imp, but just say onyx chip, 1 GP. Again, that's like a $50 note. Generally, as you go, monsters will have they don't carry heaps of treasure around with them any more than you carry, like a lot of cash on you necessarily. But as you work your way down, sometimes you'll find what's called a hoard, like they're guarding something very valuable. So those of you who like treasure, I know from your feedback, like some of you are really interested in treasure. Treasure tends to come in big bursts, like you work your way to a more and more dangerous, well-guarded place, and then you kind of get a good payoff of treasure. But these little bits, you get these onyx chips on these things, so write that down. Basically, any vendor will be able to take that as payment. If you want to buy something with that costs gold pieces, that would be worth that there. XP, all of you, again, because you're at level 1 and the way these large sessions go, you all get 100 XP.
So we've got 250 now.
So you're at 250. At 300, you become level 2.
That means we're between
You can
4
read on the
sessions.
back what level 2 is. You don't have to do the things that are described. Again, you can start customizing your character and develop in different ways. So level 2 is a chance to specialize your character. Again, you go to D&D Beyond or get a player's handbook, and you can read about how to level up. But the most important things that you might think of that you can look forward to with a little bit more experience, you'll get more hit points. That's a nice thing. Also, you start getting extra powers and things that are really interesting. So your class, whatever class you are, you just get to be a bit more specialized or a bit more deep into that class. There's some fun stuff to look forward to there. Hopefully you'll come back and we'll do that. Again, keep in mind this combat, when very slow I'm teaching, things do get faster. I totally understand if you're like, okay, I've got the idea, I'm ready to play a smaller group and go faster, that's great. My main goal, I'm saying this to people watching, is teaching D&D. There's many great D&D podcasts, great D&D games. Fantastic, they're out there, I encourage you. I want to be a place where people can comfortably learn it in a really supportive environment. And experiment with different characters. You can change characters, as I posted, you can come up with a different character. Don't worry about the story, we'll figure out one reason why this character chickens out and leaves for a while, and your new character shows up. Don't worry about that story part, I just like people to experiment with new characters. You'll be able to carry your experience points over. So if you're level 2 with this character, your new one will also be able to be level 2. So keep that in mind. All right, next is deciding what the session is going to be about. Like I said at the end of the Kobold Jail, right now I try to constrain things to a few sort of sharp choices. These choices get wider and wider, and you can be more and more creative. You debate with each other about which of these things to choose. For now, I'm going to say, please just choose one of these, because you have fairly constrained choices. But as we get deeper, don't worry. You can all converge on some crazy fourth thing that I didn't list. I always have suggestions. So like, oh, no, what we all want to do is this. Like, fine. Then you tell me, and I will say, yep, you're going to do that next session. Within the session, you'll have all kinds of freedom, but you'll just kind of try to stick to that theme next session. Here are the things that you can pick from. You are halfway down what I call the red track, right? A red ghost told you to go down here. You found a red mirror. There's another sort of case of the red mirror down there. There's a red mirror here. So something to do with the reds, the people who wear red, and this sort of wickedness that's sort of like these strange creatures in this weird space.
The imps were red.
Yep, the imps themselves are red. You can continue to go down. So the next session could be the next level of the dungeon. You'd be able to do, that short rest. You get a little bit stronger, but you're starting to run a little bit low on hit points and low on spells. You're going to tough it out, get to the bottom of this dungeon, hopefully, right? So that's continuing the red track. That's choice number 1. So we call that the red choice. Just keep going the way that you're going. Option number 2 is go back to what I call the silver track. The things with the kobolds that were down there behind the portcullis. They had the orrery, the big brass hoopy thing that they're torturing people to discover. One of them, the kobold, had a burned rectangle over their eyes, which you associate with that figure that wears silver armor and has like that silver boxy visor on their head. So that way you learn more about chaos shards, because that's obviously something that you found nearby, and what's up with the orrery and what's up with the kobolds and the machinery they're taking apart. That's the silver track. The third one is goblins. You know that you can say, look, I'm tired of being inside. I want to be in a virtual outside. I want to go outside in the caves of chaos and maybe start following those goblins. Let's see where the goblins are up to. Let's go back to defending those farms. This is something where this is going to be more combat oriented. If you like the idea of like more action oriented and you want to explore combat, this is going to be a little bit heavier on the combat story because you're chasing down goblins. There'll be role playing, there'll be scenery, you'll be going large distances and stuff, and you'll be defending towns. So that's something that you could do, pursuing the goblin track. So red, silver, and goblin. And that's what you should debate amongst yourselves. We're going to take a vote in about 5 minutes. During that 5 minutes, feel free to pack up. You can put those things away, and please donate. Either you can go to Patreon, just make a resolution to donate. Remember, it's $6 a head. You're not required to pay, but if you can, that would be very nice. I can take cards, and I can take cash. So, combination of debating with each other what you want to do. We'll take the vote in 5 minutes. Each just vote once. So, red. Raise your hand if you want red. Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
Okay, well, that's easy enough.
Yeah.
All right. Good. And what are the main things that motivated you? Like, what are some reasons that you
Gotta
picked
finish
that
what we
one?
start.
We can
Yeah.
finish
Yeah.
it.
We're here,
We can't
so
go
once-
halfway through.
Yeah,
If
that's
we
right.
can-
Okay.
If
All
we
right.
can
Sure.
clear down here where we are and get
Yeah,
a
yeah.
level, it'll be easier to go back.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Finish where we
almost
started.
likely next session, either finish the dungeon, but either way, next session we'll get enough points to become level 2. But we're at the end of
Yeah,
the session,
right,
which
yeah,
means when we
get
come
level
back up,
2
we'll
and
be level
items
2
here,
to
I
come
heard
fight
that,
those more
yeah,
people.
yeah, good, yeah.
Tulip's convinced that he can convert some people to his religion.
Alright, good.
Is there a full
Good talk to some
rest
imps.
when we level up, or is that just?
Yeah, so my house rule is that when you level
Yeah.
up, I just give you the benefit of a long rest pretty much right away, just because
Yeah.
I just like keeping up the momentum. Most DMs don't do it that way, but I've just got my video.
So it'll be a long
Yeah.
rest for the next session.
So next session, you haven't leveled up, you're still level 1. You think that you'll be able to start with a short rest. So I'll teach you what short rests do, right? So, short rest can be interrupted. I might be trying to, get you to let your guard down. But you're not really much at risk. When you're short rest, you're awake, you're active. So if something attacks you, it doesn't necessarily surprise you.
You're just kind of
A
dozing.
long rest is more, you're asleep, unless you're an elf. You're asleep and things can tend to surprise you. You have to take your armor off to do a long rest, so that's also much more vulnerable. Short rests are much safer. Yeah, so you'll be able to start with a short rest if you continue down. Whether that short rest will be interrupted or possible, you don't know. It's so cold here. You also think you probably couldn't do a long rest because it's so cold. You just can't sleep in this bitter cold. So we will do that next time.
If anything,
I'm going-
I can guard because I got all the hit points. So.
Oh
Same,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
same. I
yep.
don't need
That's right.
any
Yeah. So you
sleep.
Anyone
warriors.
needs to replenish their health, yes.
Some people do, we don't. I don't at least.
Or set up a mini hospital bed.
What if I just need a cuddle buddy to keep me warm?
It's 9 o'clock, so
We
feel
won't
free to
have
go
me.
anytime. I'll pack up. I'm going to go to Netherworld, so it's a great way to sort of get more lore once I have a beer or two. You can usually get me to verify bits of lore. I don't necessarily give away new things, but I tend to confirm theories. If you're right, I'll say like, it's probably a good theory. So that's good. Or just talk to each other. This is a social club, so feel free to take advantage of that. Netherworld is just down the street, and it's a great place. If it's full, I don't think it'll be full this time, but if it's full, then I'll be there soon, I guess. We'll either be in the queue or I'll see you in 2 weeks. Please come back in 2 weeks. Everybody is welcome. I'm really enjoying doing all this, and hopefully you're having a good time too.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
great. Yeah, thank you very much.